Wonderful, thank you. Good evening, welcome to the regular meeting of the Petaluma City Council and Petaluma Community Development Successor Agency for Monday, February 2, 2026. May we have our roll call, please?
Barnacle,
Present.
Cater Thompson,
Here.
DeCarly,
Here.
Now,
Here.
Quint,
Here.
Shribs,
Here.
McDonald.
Here.
And we do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Our item tonight is a closed session, hence the early hour, and I'd like to invite our city attorney in to tell us about this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. The council will confer with labor negotiators in closed session under Government Code Section 54957.6. The city's designated representatives are Peggy Flynn, City Manager, Brian Cochran, Assistant City Manager, Linda Lee, Deputy City Manager, and Charles Sakai with the Sloan Sakai Law Firm. The affected employer organizations are ASME Units 1, 2, and 3, PPMMA Units 4, 9, and 11, IAFF Unit 7, POAP Unit 6, and PPSMMA Unit 10. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And as we do on all our items, I'd like to open this to public comment and invite the clerk to let us know if we have had any comments or.
We did not receive any comments ahead of the meeting, and I don't see anyone ready to speak.
Right. Well, seeing no one making steps towards the clerk's desk to take a chance to speak on this, we will close public comment for the night and on this item, and we will also adjourn to close session at this time. So we are now in recess during closed session. Thank you. I assume that means we're right back in session.
Yes, now we're live.
Now we're being recorded and whatnot. And so I just want to welcome everybody tonight to our meeting of the Petaluma City Council and the Petaluma Community Development Successor Agency for Monday, February 2, 2026. And as always, if you wish to provide comment tonight, there are cards in the back of the room, and our clerk is here in the front of the room. Fill out your name on the cards, and we'll either have you at the general public comment time, as you note, or on the item time, if you so flag an item. May we have a roll call for the evening, please?
Barnacle,
Present.
Cater Thompson,
Here.
DeCarly,
Here.
Now,
Here.
Quint,
Here.
Shribs,
Here.
McDonald.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
And I just want to note, we do concurrent translations for this meeting in Spanish and in a variety of other languages. So to access those services, please link on the QR that's on the, or the URL or QR on the agenda. And if you're in the room, we have one on the back wall that you can use to get concurrent translation services. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now a moment of silence. Thank you. At this point, I look to have our agenda approved for the evening, the way you see it on the flyers in the audience. Is there anyone in council who wishes to change the agenda as we've printed it? Wonderful. By acclaim, we have an approved agenda. And now I'd like to invite our city attorney to make a report out from our closed session, if any is appropriate.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is no action to report out tonight.
Well, that was concise. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. That moves us right through the agenda and takes us to one of the more fun parts of the agenda for the evening. We have a proclamation tonight. The proclamation is for Black History Month, and I'd like to invite Faith Ross, the Executive Director of the Petaluma Blacks for Community Development, up to the podium while we read this presentation. Welcome. Whereas Black History Month provides an opportunity for the city of Petaluma to honor the extraordinary and indispensable contributions made by Black Americans in the United States of America and in our local community. Whereas Petaluma Blacks for Community Development was established in 1978 by a group of engaged and civic-minded Black residents with the aim of providing support for new Black families moving into the area, connecting the community with Black culture and history, and ensuring that the Black community became a positive part of the larger Petaluma community. And whereas in keeping with their mission, they have consistently provided a venue for educating the community through an annual Black History program, museum, exhibits, and individual member involvement in various community organizations and activities. And whereas Petaluma Blacks for Community Development has supported our youth by providing opportunities for them to be active participants in the organization, encouraging them in their involvement in school and community activities, and teaching them to value our Black history. And whereas the group has continued to offer support for Black families through social gatherings and reaching out to each other and becoming an essential part of our community's landscape. And whereas Petaluma Blacks for Community Development has been an integral community partner to the city, and we are grateful for their countless contributions over the past 4 decades. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Kevin McDonald, Mayor of Petaluma, along with the members of the Petaluma City Council, do hereby proclaim February 2026 as Black History Month and commend Petaluma Blacks for Community Development in their effort to support the community at large and to help our community celebrate and honor Black history and culture. Thank you.
Good evening. I feel like I need my posse to come up with me. So if you guys could just please come up. Joanna. I need that.
Yeah, that's it. Good job. We still have a couple distractions. Okay.
To the city manager, mayor, city council members, city staff, and members of our community. On behalf of Petaluma Blacks for Community Development and the many residents, elders, youth, and families who have carried this work forward, thank you for this proclamation honoring Black History Month. We are truly grateful to the city of Petaluma for this recognition. This year's theme, A Century of Black History Commiserations, A Future of Possibility, reminds us that Black History Month did not begin as a moment, but as a movement. For more than 100 years, communities across the country have gathered to preserve stories, honor achievements, and ensure that Black history is recognized, taught, and valued. Black history is a living history. It is woven into the fabric of American history and into the ongoing story of Petaluma. This month invites us not only to reflect on this past, but to recognize the people who, generation after generation, have kept these histories alive, often with not acknowledgement or support. At Petaluma Blacks for Community Development, our mission is rooted in that same commitment to honor our history, educate our community, uplift our youth, and create space where culture and connection can thrive. This proclamation affirms that this work matters and that the city of Petaluma recognizes the importance of remembering and commiserating Black history together. We also want to acknowledge our community partners, volunteers, artists, educators, and families whose dedication makes Black History Month possible each year. This proclamation belongs to all of us. Thank you for standing with us, for recognizing the significance of this centennial theme, and for helping ensure that Black history is not only remembered, but celebrated and carried forward. We accept this proclamation with gratitude, pride, and a continued commitment to building a more informed, connected, and inclusive Petaluma. Thank you. I'd like to introduce our president, Ted Keys, and I think he has a few words to say.
Brief comment. Again, thank you for welcoming all of us. Just a brief comment of gratitude. On behalf of Petaluma Blacks for Community Development, I want to thank the city of Petaluma for this meaningful recognition as we celebrate Black History Month. This honor reflects not just the organization's work, but the collective spirit of those in Petaluma who believe in equity, education, and unity. At a time when our nation feels deeply divided, it's more important than ever that our community stands together, supporting one another, listening across differences, and continuing to build a city where everyone feels respected and included. Black History Month reminds us that progress comes when we work side by side. Let's keep that spirit alive throughout the year, right here in Petaluma. Thank you for this acknowledgement and for walking with us on the path toward a stronger, more connected community. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Now moving us to general public comment for the evening. During general public comment, the public's invited to make comment on items that are not on the agenda, but that are of public interest and within the council's subject matter jurisdiction. Public comments are limited to up to 3 minutes per person. Depending on the number of persons wishing to address the council, time will be allocated in equal shares, totaling no more than 20 minutes. If we have more than 20 people speaking, additional comment time will be allowed after the last business item of the evening. So with that, I'm going to ask our clerk, who is also doubling as a technician tonight, if we've had any public comment online and coming in.
We received 18 public comments ahead of the meeting, and those are posted online. And at this time, I will start a 30-second clock. During these 30 seconds, members of the public should bring their speaker cards to my desk if they have not already done so. Speaker cards received after this time may not be accommodated.
We have 15 speakers wishing to speak tonight, and that would be 90 seconds is what we're setting the clock at. And our first speaker is Tina Yonkers, to be followed by David Yunner. And Tina, you're first up.
Okay, I'm first up. I brought some boxes. With hopefully the permission with you guys, I can leave them today. We'll see. Okay. Hello. Yeah, my name is Tina Yonkers, and I came here tonight to talk to you about the Drug Free World Foundation. I know it's quite a title, very ambitious, but it's a big problem that needs to be addressed. I brought these booklets with me and some booklets that I handed out that you can get for all of you so you can get a chance to read this. These materials that I'm talking about are offered free of charge through the Drug Free World, and they're offered to any schools any police force, any like-minded groups that would like to end this plague that we do have currently on drugs. These booklets provide facts about commonly abused drugs in our society today, an educational tool that these drugs, what they do is they actually do teach you. Instead of just saying no to drugs, they tell you why you shouldn't take drugs. So at any rate, I brought these with me, and you'll see a nice picture of this handsome man here. His name is Marshall Falk, and he, every chance he gets for the Super Bowl or whatever, he talks about this program because he's so dedicated to it. So I'm really hoping that anybody can take this. There's a QR code on it that will tell you exactly how to get the materials. There's actually a whole kit that comes with it with a video and learning stuff. So
Thank you very much. And if you leave those, our clerk will pick them up for us if you want to.
Spanish and English.
And our next speaker is David Youngers, and to be followed by Elisa Weber.
Thank you. I'm David Junker. Della Fattoria is where I work, downtown Petaluma. I've been a Sonoma County resident, unincorporated Petaluma, for 34 years. I'm hoping that we can get the referendum on the ballot in June. I would very much like to see the city be able to move forward with some downtown development that's smart and well thought out. And I really hope that we have the opportunity to vote on it so we can put that to rest and get moving with what we've all decided, or what you guys have decided we need to do last year, or 2 years ago. Thank you. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Elisa Weber, to be followed by Teddy Herzog.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Elisa Weber, and I own and operate Della Fattoria in downtown Petaluma. For 30 years, we've been making bread and employing our youth and serving our community, and I'm proud to be a native Petaluman. I'm also one of the founding members of Renaissance Petaluma, a new community advocacy group made up of city leaders, we're community leaders, business owners, newbies, and concerned citizens who like to have a voice in the downtown government. So I'm speaking on behalf of Renaissance Petaluma tonight because a lot of our members are still working or have family obligations that they can't break away from tonight. And that's part of why we sort of made up Renaissance Petaluma, because a lot of people don't have the time to, are busy working and they don't have a voice. All these really incredible, talented, visionary people need to have a voice for them. So Renaissance Petaluma strongly supports the City Council's vote in support of the overlay, and we would like to see that go on the June ballot and get this, let the people vote and find out what people really think, whether we're going to stagnate with all these vacancies or proceed forward with joy and prosperity and a strong legacy for our future generations. It's really in our hands. Thank you.
Thank you. Teddy Herzog, to be followed by Nathan Spindell.
Hello, everyone. Teddy Herzog here with Urban Chat. A supermajority of you all approved the downtown zoning overlay, and city staff has spent hundreds of hours working on this thing. The general public has hundreds of hours of conversations about the zoning overlay and the hotel, some for and some against. So tonight I'm here to say now is the time. Let's put this on the ballot, on the June ballot, and let's let the people have their say. Let the people decide. Thank you.
Thank you. Nathan Spindell, to be followed by Amy Levine.
Hello, I'm Nathan Spindell, volunteer with Urban Chat. My family loves historic downtown Petaluma. I work there daily, and my family frequents its many restaurants and shops. My 6-year-old daughter's favorite is Mi Pueblo. Nearly all downtown businesses support the overlay because they understand it will enhance their businesses while making downtown more vibrant and resilient. Furthermore, the overlay's potential for infill downtown housing will make Petaluma more livable and affordable for everyone. I, too, encourage a June vote for the referendum.
Thank you. Amy Levine, to be followed by Wayne Clark.
Hello, I'm Amy Levine. I've lived in Petaluma on the west side for 23 years. I'm a board member on Petaluma Urban Chat. And here also to encourage you to put the referendum on the ballot. My vision for Petaluma is a thriving downtown and midtown, money in the coffers of City Hall to pay for infrastructure, to fix our streets and our sidewalks, to invest in our growth and our sustainability, and to pay for the services and events that make Petaluma a great place to live. The long-term vacancies we have in downtown and the lack of private investment to turn those around is undermining those goals and our ability to get there. And the overlay allows for the density that we need to reach those goals. So I'm asking to please put the referendum to a vote and let the people have a say. Thank you.
Thank you. Wayne Clark, to be followed by Stephanie Adams.
Hello, everyone. Boy, I'm going to talk about the Black History Month. You know, the bottom line is we got to not let Donald Trump whitewash Black history. They're just eliminating everything. It's just, it's a travesty when you think of MLK and John Lewis putting themselves on the line. And moving right along, I was at a vigil last night for Alex Pretty at the VA clinic in Santa Rosa. It was a nationwide vigil all over the place. And it was pretty powerful. We played Bruce Springsteen's Streets of Minneapolis at the end. And it was very, very, very emotional. I want to make sure that the article in the Argus on the anti-ICE protesters was excellent. I mean, I'm hoping they get an award for that article. And especially I want to do a shout out too to the two ladies that really organized it. It was very, very cool. In fact, their names are Stephanie Wilkinson, which is part of Indivisible Petaluma, and Linda Judah organized the Lucchese March. And we're getting the kids out. I was out with those kids at Walnut Park. We had 150 kids. I had to keep on having them climb down from the light standard. They actually listened to me because I'm 80 years old, you know. But other than that. And another thing, okay. We've got to move out of our comfort zone. I'm telling you, we got to put ourselves on the line. And my time's up, right? Right. Good timing, though, eh, Karen? Good job. Oh. Mike McGuire, he's going to be our next.
We are not campaigning tonight.
Oh, God.
Stephanie Adams, to be followed by Nancy Lamb.
Hello, I'm a member of Petaluma Urban Chat for several years. I'm an East Side resident of Petaluma for over 30 years. And the overlay is an issue that concerns me as well. I'm a resident of Petaluma. It doesn't just affect the people that live in the immediate downtown area. And so I'm very anxious for the city to get this voted on by the entire city, not just those of us who are maybe retired and have the time and inclination to come to city council meetings. A lot of people don't have that ability. So just because the most vocal people are able to speak up, there's a lot of people that have different views than the vocal minority, I think. So anyway, I'd like to see the city thrive, and we need density in order to do that. We need to have more people downtown. I remember when I first moved here, it was a dying downtown. It was really, until the theater district was built, it was pretty rough and not an inviting place to be. And I see some signs of that happening very gradually, ever so gradually, and we need to reverse it. So thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Nancy Lamb, to be followed by Jody Johnson. Nancy Leone. Thank you. Sorry.
Good evening, City Council and Mr. Mayor. I'm here to mimic what has just been said to get the referendum on the ballot for June. I've been a business owner in downtown Petaluma now for 22 years and a resident of the east side and now the west side. Not only have I seen the urgency to get our downtown and thriving and being part of a economic growth that benefits all of us sitting in this room. So if you could please get it going for us. The the more we stall, the harder it's going to be. So let's just get it, and I appreciate your support, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Jody Johnson, to be followed by Tim Porteous.
Good evening. Tonight we speak as Petaluma Mobile Residents United and as GSMOL Vice President Zone A1 and GSMOL board members. This past week we have fielded mobile park resident issues from 4 of our 7 parks. This coming week we testify about closure conversion issues throughout our entire county. In neighboring jurisdictions, public record requests showed park owners engaging with county housing officials to create secret deals in San Jose, home to 10,000 mobile home residents. Our residents feel immensely proud that our city of Petaluma engages with all parties, allows for all stakeholders to be heard in public comments and through communication to the city. We are proud of our city of Petaluma in that all are respected, regardless of the balance of their checkbook or the power of their ownership. Obviously, our residents will not always obtain everything they seek as it comes to protection, but abuse of legal ordinances and zoning must always be enforced. A lawless ordinance or a lawless senior park overlay must always be addressed. This past week, park owner Harmony once again hit Littlewoods residents with a demand for home insurance for all and a detailed privacy form to be filled out. MRL law does not allow a demand on home insurance for a home that the park does not own. That insurance is between the resident owner and their insurance broker or mortgage lender. Parking is so much an issue that residents truly don't know how to handle this reduction of service. Stress is a hardship both physically and mentally.
Thank you. Tim Porteous, to be followed by Marie Cuneo.
In addition, Youngstown Mobile Park management and owners have tripled down again in sales as all age 12 Michael, 29 Pamela, and now 132 Pamela Court. The parade of young families with babies and toddlers is hard for neighbors to see. When a potential buyer asked a resident why the windows had signs saying this was a senior park, the buyer was very surprised to hear that this is a senior park. In fact, they stated that management and management agents showing them the mobile home said it was an all-age park and that they are allowed to sell it as an all-age park since they are only at 7% of all ages. In their cleanup of 132 Pamela Court that just now was settled in a court of law after heirs fought for the owners against unlawful seizure, trash, and contaminated park by park management cleanup crew. This denied pickup of trash from residents who pay for this service. Recology posted contamination and refusal to pick up until it was cleaned out. Capri continues to be given misinformation by park management and was presented with the same demand for home insurance and privacy information. Residents remain resolute that lawful business practices must always be addressed.
Thank you. Marie Cuneo, to be followed by Darren Rakusin.
Thank you, City Council. Capri residents and all our residents are aware of another lawsuit filed by Harmony and await seeing the newest pleadings. The coming weeks will show courts of law weighing in on these important mobile park residents' issues, and we are hopeful that justice will prevail. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Darren Rakusin, to be followed by Chantel Rogers.
Thank you, Clerk, City Council, Darren Rakusin, Planning Commission, Tree Committee, Accountant. Quick level setting on the overlay. The overlay emphatically does not change residential density at all. I know folks on the dais know that. And the overlay is not what is being referended. So the referendum is actually done on a zoning text amendment that was done in parallel for that project to increase the allowable FAR in those zones to 6.0. So a 6.0 floor area ratio, that's the bulk and mass of non-residential buildings that was at issue. At the time when this came forward in 2023, there was some concern of why don't we wait until the general plan process to make a change like this? General Plan 2025, which is the current general plan we're operating under, is very clear about limiting FAR. So to be consistent with our foundational policy documents, it seemed like a drastic change. We were told in those meetings, though, that look, the new general plan is coming and this will be in alignment with the new general plan. So we should pass this now and not wait for this general plan process. Time is of the essence. But now it's been a couple years of entitlements. We've had a referendum. The new general plan and zoning code overhaul is coming at the end of 26 and into early 2027. And in that draft plan, there is no 6.0 FAR anywhere. So now we're bringing back this item for a vote that really is not in alignment with the new general plan either. So it wasn't in the alignment with the current general plan, but now we've gone through the process of much of the draft general plan process, and it's not in alignment with the current new general plan. So just want to make sure we're consistent. Thank you.
Thank you. Chantel Rogers, to be followed by Christine White.
Good evening. So at the last city council meeting, you guys approved this consent calendar, which included this item for tonight's agenda. Quote, introduction, first reading of an ordinance and adoption of an urgency ordinance of the City Council of the City of Petaluma to amend Chapter 17.09 of the Petaluma Municipal Code titled All Electric Construction in Newly Constructed Buildings to Promote Voluntary All Electric Construction. So when the agenda came out, that item wasn't on it. But then the City of Petaluma sent out a next door post saying, come on down to the City Council meeting. We'll be discussing the Rainier paving project and, quote, all electric building code amendment. But it still didn't appear on the agenda, and the city did not go back in and redact that item as a reason for people to come down and participate. In tonight's consent calendar, for the items for the next city council meeting and for future agenda items through March, I don't see this ordinance or reading of this anywhere in that. So I'm hoping for some clarification on how this confusion happened and when we might expect to see this item on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Christina White.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Christine White, and I have been here attending many meetings, speak at many of them. But last meeting, there was a zoning passed for residential care facilities. And you heard from a lot of people that they commented on the number of parking spaces, 1.4, certain number of units. But also here was Gallagher, who they are proposing one of the constructions. And they had 2 parking spaces per room. I happened to be sitting next to them and I asked, how did you come up with that? Well, they have 72 care facilities and they found that that's a great model, 2 spaces per room. And that allows their staff to park on site, not on the streets, not anywhere else. It was brought up in the meetings that several of us spoke about, not enough parking. You know, we need more parking. The 1.4 or whatever was a minimum. But I've noticed that the council seems to go for what the developers are saying. I guess one developer may pull out if it's not the minimum. But why are we striving for the minimum? Did you ask your kids to strive for the minimum? I didn't. That'd be like a C-. Why aren't we doing better? Why aren't we telling developers what we want in Petaluma as opposed to what the developers want? Gallagher has a great model. Did anyone bother to talk to them about how did you come up with that model and how does that work? And maybe that's the model that Petaluma should take. So I just request that we, the council, do better for us citizens. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was our last public speaker. And I'll tackle that one comment about the all-electric. If anybody's here for the all-electric, I apologize. Things get heard when the staff report is ready and heard, and so if it's not on tonight's, it's coming in the future when it's ready and prepared. Sometimes that communication can be glitchy, and I apologize. That moves us, to council comments tonight, and I will continue to repeat to council that we're going to try and keep it under 3 minutes for every individual, and I'd like to start with Councilmember Shribs tonight.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that's all go fairly quick. I attended 2 different workshops last Friday and Saturday. On Friday, I went to the Bay Ren workshop on heat pumps for contractors and found out what's going on there. And by 2030, because we want to reduce the amount of NOx, nitrogen oxides in the atmosphere, which is causing problems, we're all going to be going to heat pumps, and they were working on getting that. So it's coming up will be rebates, but even more than heat pumps, we need weatherizing is actually a higher value bang for the buck, is what they were also saying. But we need to work with both. There's enough systems we have to work with county and the city and the region for both rebates and also financing. And there's even someone out there that was actually giving folks a way to find rebates through an online program. So that was the Bay Ren program. Also, what we were reminded is that for small gas equipment is actually banned for sale right now. You can still use what you already have, and you can probably bring it in from outside, but small gas equipment for, let's say, lawnmowers and weed whackers, those gas equipments are essentially right now, according to California, no sales allowed. And eventually there will be a ban on use eventually, but no sales allowed right now. Then at the Planning and Conservation League, which I went on Saturday all day, found out some of the laws. Mostly it's a lobby group, lots of lawyers, also to support the environment and watch out for anything problems. And a couple things came out of that one. One was that SB 375, which is about carbon dioxide reductions. It's a planning regulations. How do we plan, and we're following that, and all the cities are following it, but we're not being as, the goals are not being met, so we need to work harder on that one. Another one that came out was SB 131, which turned out that CEQA is going to get reduced quite a bit from SB 131. And it was done over a weekend after midnight. People didn't realize what was happening, got rewritten, got passed. But it has to do with taking CEQA away from advanced manufacturing, which includes pipelines, AI centers, and mining. So we found out that there's a lot of money coming in, and it's also to deal with, turns out the abundance group, I'm part of the abundance network of electeds, and we talk about how to streamline things like windmills and geothermal and get some density housing. Turns out there's a wolf in sheep clothing that's on the sidelines that trying to hide, but essentially they're trying to subvert the whole process and get deregulation for themselves, AI centers and pipelines and other things, and for mining operations. So we have to be careful. And so anyway, so this is what's happening. We need to make sure that we do it right for that abundance group. And then what did come up was e-bike regulation. I actually brought that up to the whole group. I got a lot of response, and there's a lot of work going on at state level. A lot of legislators are hearing about it, and so there is going to be some state requirements coming down the pipeline. So that's what I'm hearing about that. Did I cover it?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah. Councilmember Quint.
Thank you. No report tonight.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last week, our Petaluma Public Safety Committee held a meeting where the Police Chief Miller shared an important statement regarding Petaluma's policies on immigration. He emphasized that the department's responsibility is to keep our entire community safe. Chief Miller also spoke about the importance of de-escalation and maintaining adherence to all public safety protocols, especially in light of the recent national events. The committee also received an update on the automated license plate reader, known as ALPR program, including recent policy enhancements. The Petaluma Police Department's policies, along with the PowerPoint presentation and a video recording of the meeting, are available on the city's website. On Friday morning at 5 a.m., I participated in the Sonoma County Point in Time, otherwise known as PIT, count, which is conducted annually, this year under the direction of HUD. The PIT count provides crucial data about our unhoused population, helping us identify needs and provide better services and care. My team included 2 Home First staff members, 1 COTS client, and myself, equipped with Petaluma area maps, flashlights, we walked through the Lynch Creek Trail, private properties along the railroad tracks, under the freeway overpasses, the Cedar Grove area, and through West Side neighborhoods. It was cold, it was wet, and sometimes unsettling, but truly eye-opening. I am both proud and humbled to serve our community in this way. Serving on the City Council often means stepping outside your comfort zone, listening, learning, and seeing firsthand the diverse experiences of all members of our Petaluma community. Thank you.
Thank you. That's actually above and beyond and fabulous. I appreciate that. I've done that pit count work before. And now I'd like to pass it over to Councilmember Barnacle.
I'll just say I continue to think we need to look at proactive measures to surrounding ICE coming to our city. I know the state's looking at things, but I think we should too. In terms of the June ballot, I know that was commented on. I know we're getting down to the wire on that. I think I support it. Honestly, I don't like it because I think that it helps us to have, it helps like our cause actually, the cause that we believe in, to have it go on a general election when everybody's voting versus a smaller election. But I also, I don't think that single issue elections are healthy, having just gone through one myself. And so I would like to see it get over sooner. And if there's a chance that it does pass and the developer wants to bring forward the original vision, I certainly would, support that with some, more economic benefit to the city and to our downtown. So for that reason, I think I do support it going on the June ballot, even though I don't think it necessarily is politically the best strategy for it.
Thank you. Councilwoman Cater Thompson.
Thank you. I do support the June ballot also, and would like to make sure that we have our ducks in a row because there's going to be a time frame if that's the direction the council wants to go. So that means that our city attorney needs to work on it. But I think we need to have a discussion if that's where we're going. So I just want to also talk about ICE, and I just want to make sure that our community is safe and that our police department can do what they need to do, and that ICE is not in control if they come here, because they could, and it's quite concerning. Thrilled that kids are out marching and that people are out marching for for our rights, and we just need to keep doing that because it changed the Vietnam War, and it will change what's happening in our federal government, which is affecting all of us, and financially in cities, it's affecting us across the board. It's affecting everybody's household every time you buy something. I just bought something that was less than $10. It cost me $29 because of those tariffs, because it was from out of the country. The smash and grab that happened at the jewelry store by Safeway, I went down there and talked with them today, and the two people that were working that day, they weren't there, but they're really shook up for what happened. And the police department, thank you for all that you did. But the Good Samaritan, which I just want to shout out, thank you. But on the other hand, his adrenaline was rushing so much, he jumped into this car, and it was probably not the best thing to do safety-wise. But I just want to give him a shout out for being a Good Samaritan. And let's see, I want to give a shout out to Jody Johnston for the GSMOL Vice President Zone 2A, Zone A1, excuse me. That's like a really big deal, and just kudos to you for getting that appointment. It's huge. And I also want to talk about, I met two guys that come from San Francisco. They come to Petaluma twice a week to swim in the large pool because during COVID, they couldn't, swim. So they've been coming down here since COVID. They come down to Petaluma twice a week. They go to Eleone's, they go to Jupiter Foods, and they love Hallie's for breakfast. And it was just, it's so nice to, if you see somebody on the street, and it's always good to just introduce yourself and talk with them, because you learn all about people and why they come to Petaluma, and they come here because they like it. Encouraging them to move here, but they're going to stay in the city. And then I also want to say that the Royal Oaks was sold to a hedge fund. And this is what's really scary, all these mobile home parks that are for people that, here we talk about, we want seniors to, sell their big house, go into something smaller, and then hedge funds are coming in and buying these parks. And it's not good. And I thank you for all the work that our mobile home park people are doing and for our city attorney and the city council, but we have to keep up on this because it's important housing. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor DeCarli.
Good evening, everyone. I have no liaison appointments tonight, but I will say last week I did attend the launching of the Lee Richard barge. That was very, very cool. It happened early in the morning, and it happened very fast once that thing got ripping. So that was pretty cool to see that thing in the water finally after many, many years of sitting there. It was really what it was nice to see so many people come together who love the river for so many different reasons to celebrate the launching of it and see a little bit of industry back on the river. And then lastly, I've heard some good news over at the Kavanaugh Pool, and I think I'll let staff talk about it, but I think everybody's voices were heard that came to speak about it. So thank you.
Thank you. That was a great video, the Lee Richards barge. So this week I attended the Sonoma County Mayors and Police Chiefs meeting that was convened by Congressman Thompson, and I was with our Chief Miller in that, about being prepared for an increased ICE mobilization in our cities. Are we? What should we be doing? First speaker up were actually some of the police who were talking about how different ICE is from our community policing and how important it is for the community to understand that we have community policing, and whatever ICE is not that. One of the other things that was really highlighted is that there's a number of groups that are ready and helping and putting programs in place. One of them, Secure Family Network, is making the rounds and advising people on what they can do. And then there was also a presentation from the Department of Emergency Services, County Department of Services, talking about what happens in the county with a larger mobilization, and what happens when cops are asked, our police are asked to stand between ICE and protesters, and how does that actually go down, and what can we do to not have that situation occur? So I thank all the police departments in the county and Congressman Thompson. I do want to thank the Petaluma Chamber of Commerce. They're hosting a seminar for the rights and responsibilities or immigration in the workplace. I think suddenly everybody's attention is on this topic. Communication is so important in this time. Separately, this week the grand jury checked in on their report to the city regarding the North Bay Animal Services performance. We recalled that from last year. It was a county-wide critique, but it had a couple of Petaluma-specific recommendations, and the city relayed the progress it's been making on a new city RFP, a request for proposals for animal services in the new year, and that we've made $150,000 of improvement already at the animal shelter. And that brings me to, I am very worried about next year's city budget with all the reduced revenues we're seeing, and we're going to put a serious investment into animal services appropriately, but where does money come from? With that, I do want to express my support for the idea of a June ballot for the referendum of the overlay. But to address the audience's request to us, what can be done to make that happen? I think what we need to do is ask two questions. First question is, the staff can it actually be done? And the second question is it the council's will to have a discussion about that? Shall we place it on an agenda in the future? So let me ask staff first, is it even feasible to have it on the June ballot?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that question. The short answer, even though I'm not known necessarily for short answers in this forum, is yes. It is possible. If the council wants to have the option of putting and I want to clarify what it would be putting onto the ballot. It would just be the general plan amendment increasing the FAR from 2.0 to 6. That's the only thing that was successfully referended and for which sufficient signatures were gathered. The overlay zoning amendment, which really contains all the other provisions that define the council's overlay policies about promoting housing and economic development in the downtown and the 2-block area of the overlay, that's on the books. It's not subject to challenge. It's good law. So the only thing that would be coming before the council, if that's the council's wish, would be just the overlay general plan amendment, which only addressed a FAR increase from 2.0 to 6.0. We would need to bring those items at the March 2nd city council meeting because the deadline for the June election would be taking that action by March 6th, though it's tight but doable. And we have the capacity to get those materials ready for the council if that's our direction.
So I think the council has three options. It has a June election, the next natural general election, or no action and concede the referendum.
Right. Anytime we would, so if the council wants it by the March 2nd, you'd have the option of repealing the overlay or putting it before the voters or waiting and weighing the same choices in the November election. But you would have to do it by the next August in time for the November election. Thank you.
So the best way to notify the public if we did want to proceed this way is to put it in a tentative agenda for our next meeting for discussion at a future meeting. So I'm going to kind of look up and down the council and see whether there's support or comment on whether to follow that path of adding it to the next tentative agenda or just letting it ride to a future time uncertain. Any comment from the council? So Councilmember Shribs?
Yes. So there's enough petitions put out that, yes, we were in a situation where basically we're forced to and asked to put together a referendum. And at the same time, for timing, I think Councilmember Brian Barnacle was saying about we don't want to end up in the same situation of a single issue on the elections in November, because if we delay too long, that will become the single issue for the whole election, and there's a lot more involved in the city than that. So I think this needs to be resolved as early as possible, either way. So I would go with putting it on the referendum earlier and let at least the majority of folks that want to participate and vote and have a say to come in and have a say on it.
And that's the path of putting it on the next tentative agenda.
Put it on June, and let's get it over and done with. And if it goes one way or the other, then we can change the general plan and everything else coming up and modify accordingly. But I think I'd like to have the whole people speak, and referendums, we've been asked to do it, we've been forced to do it, so let's do it. Let's put it on as early as possible.
Okay, Councilmember now?
Yes, first I would like to know the cost. What's the cost of putting it on the June ballot and the cost putting it on the November ballot? And we know we're still going to have a single issue election campaign because this is going to be the hot topic, and June to November is not very long. So
If I could, I think what we're trying to do is get it agendized so we can have that conversation about that increased cost.
But to make a decision, I would need to know the costs to the taxpayers and to the city.
Okay, and I'm sure that'll be in the March 2nd write-up. If we get it agendized, that would come up in there. Okay.
We have that information if Caitlin wants to give that range.
Sure. We did receive estimates from the county last year on this topic, and so for a November election, it would be approximately $1.50 to $2.50 per voter on top of our regular elections costs. So that would be $68,000 to $115,000 on top of a regular election costs. For a June or a special election, the estimate would be $3 to $9 per voter, or $120,000 roughly to $365,000.
Okay. Councilmember Quinn?
I just wanted to express my support for agendizing it so we can have the conversation.
Thank you. Any other comment? Then this is just advice to staff. It's not a vote. It's how we get things on the agenda for the next one. So I can do this by acclaim or straw poll. And I think I'm hearing support. Can I ask that to show of support for adding it to the agenda? Can I ask, is there any technical element to doing that? Is direction from what you see head nodding here enough?
No, I think that's, if the council has consensus, that's fine, Mr. Mayor. It's even though this conversation wasn't placed on tonight's agenda, council comment is, and that is an appropriate time in accordance with the Brown Act for the council to identify issues for future agendas that come back on the notice agenda for the public to be able to participate in based on the agenda notice, et cetera. So that's enough for us unless the council has.
Well, thank you. And that gets us through council comment. I just want to notice we're going over to city manager. I guess there is the issue of the pool. That was teased up as good news. And then, of course, there's our committee and commission appointments, if you could say a little something. And then, do I have it right? You just passed your 7th anniversary here at the city. And so congratulations tonight.
Thank you. It's an honor. It is an honor. It's an honor that I enjoy every day. I just want to mention we do have CCB, or our commission and committee recruitments, still open. We're recruiting to fill several vacancies on Climate Action Commission, Historic and Cultural Preservation Committee, Public Safety Advisory Committee, Senior Advisory Committee, and the Sonoma County Library Commission. We welcome a diverse range of experience and encourage all to apply. Applications are available on the city website and are due 5 p.m. on Thursday, February 19th. Appointments will be made by the City Council on March 3rd, and additional information can be found on the city website by just putting in CCBs in the search box, or by contacting the city clerk's office. Also, we are looking forward to welcoming our Kavanaugh pool patrons back on Wednesday, February 18th, starting with self-guided classes 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, in the traditional 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. slot. We've had a number of pool recruitments open, including lifeguarding, as well as swim and class instructors. So whether you're certified or interested in getting certified, we'd love to hear from you. To apply, you can go to the city website. I think you type in lifeguard, and that'll come up in the search box. Over the next couple of weeks, staff are refreshing the facility, replacing signage, lots of repainting, and doing a deep cleaning and much needed maintenance. And we do appreciate the community members who have taken us up on interim programming at the swim center. We've had a healthy group of folks today taking advantage of the warmer weather, and we appreciate your patience while we're making the most of the temporary closure. And anyone interested in receiving regular updates to the opening of the Kavanaugh pool, please email us at aquatics@cityofpetaluma.org to be added to our list. And the only thing I'd like to add is that the chief of police and we are working on contingency plans for ICE presence, increased ICE presence in our community. And we are working with Petaluma City Schools this week to talk about that planning, but there's probably not a day that's not gone by that we haven't talked about that. So we are working on that. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. That brings us to our consent calendar. And I'd like to ask the council if there's anyone who needs to remove an item. Not seeing that. Any question on these 4 items? They're it's a good agenda today. And I'd like to ask the clerk then to please fill us in on public comment and open the public comment.
We did not receive any public comments on the consent calendar, and I have not received any cards. But this is the moment to bring your card to my desk if you would like to make a comment.
So public comment is open, and seeing no one moving towards the clerk with a card for public comment. Public comment is now closed, And that brings it back to council. Do I have a comment or a motion?
Make the motion.
We have a motion
Second.
I'll second.
by Cater Thompson and a second by Now. And no further comment. We'd like to have a roll call vote on the consent calendar.
Barnacle,
Aye.
Cater Thompson,
Yes.
DeCarly,
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
Quint,
Yes.
Shribs,
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much. Now, that brings us to our first public hearing matter for consideration, which is resolution recommending appointments to the Mayors and Councils Association to fill certain vacancies on regional bodies. And for that, I'd like to have our clerk walk us through.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The Mayor and Council Members Association of Sonoma County fills vacancies on various local or regional boards or commissions when terms expire or upon resignations. There are currently 2 vacant seats on the Charles M. Schultz Sonoma County Aviation Commission. Both of those are 4-year terms starting in February. There's also 1 vacant seat on the Child Care Planning Council. That is a 3-year term starting also in February. Applicants submitted letters of interest for these positions to the MCA clerk last month. Those are all included in your agenda packet. Tonight, we are asking council to recommend appointments for those vacancies, which Mayor McDonald or his designee will vote on at the upcoming February 12th MCA meeting. So following council questions and public comment, I can share a voting slide for these seats so that council can discuss and make selections.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. Any questions from the council before we go to public comment? Good. Let's go to public comment.
I did not receive any public comments ahead of the meeting, and I have not yet received any cards, but this is the moment if anyone would like to make a comment.
All right. Not seeing anyone moving towards the clerk's desk, that will close public comment on this item. And that brings it back up to the council dais. And any comment or a nomination? Let's see. I'll turn it back to the clerk because she has an orderly manner as opposed to where I was headed.
Yes, so I thought we would take these one at a time. We have the Charles M. Schultz Sonoma County Aviation Commission. We did have 3 applicants for that. David Hagel from Healdsburg, Tanya Potter from Windsor, and Mark Stapp from Santa Rosa. We do have 2 seats available here, so if you would like to have a discussion first, or we could go straight to the
Discussion
vote.
first. Would anyone like to say something in favor of one of the candidates and Councilmember Cater Thompson?
Well, I'm looking at staff and Potter, and because they're most impacted by the airport, Santa Rosa is, and Windsor would be.
Okay.
And that's my determination, because David's great too. I mean, they're all great candidates.
Yeah. Councilmember Barnacle?
Yeah, I've never served with David, but I serve with Potter and Stapp on Sonoma Clean Power, and both of them are super professional. They show up really prepared and offer great comments, so I'll be supporting them.
Any other comment? We good? Then let's proceed to voting on these.
Okay, so please, as when I say your name, please vote for 2. Barnacle,
Potter and Stapp.
Cater Thompson,
Potter and Stapp.
DeCarly,
Potter and Stapp.
Now,
Potter and Stapp.
Quint,
Potter and Stapp.
Shribs.
Well, let's make it unanimous.
Okay.
Kind of an assumption. Yeah, it's making it unanimous. Thank you.
Potter and Stapp, okay.
All right, moving to the next position.
The next one is Child Care Planning Council, and we have 3 applicants. Our own Karen Now from Petaluma, Samantha Rodriguez from Rohnert Park, and Stephen Zolman from Sebastopol.
And Councilmember Barnacle?
With the greatest amount of respect for all the other applicants, I'm going to be supporting Councilmember Now for all the amazing reasons, including her tenure and working with children and clear concern for the future of our county.
And I'll second that.
All right, well, we're not quite at that part yet, but if there's no other comments, then will you just read names across, please?
Sure. Barnacle,
Now.
Cater Thompson,
Now.
DeCarly,
Now.
now,
Yes, me.
Quint,
Now.
Shribs,
I suspect let's make it unanimous again.
and Mayor
Make it
McDonald.
so.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay,
But we will
now-
have a motion now for all three of these appointments.
So what we did is we put names into the resolution that we're going to be adopting on an actual vote, and I think we all remember who we voted for. So I would like to have the clerk do a roll call vote on.
I just need a motion and a second on the
You're
resolution.
right.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion from Cater Thompson
Second.
and a second from Barnacle.
Thank you. Barnacle,
Aye.
Cater Thompson,
Yes.
DeCarly,
Yes.
now,
Yes, and thank you to my council member, the mayor.
Quint,
Yes.
Shribs,
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much. And that moves us to our item 6, a resolution awarding contract for the Rainier Avenue Pavement Restoration Project. And to help us out with that, we have Bjorn Griepenberg, our transportation planner, and Jeff Stutzman, Deputy Director of Public Work. Thank you, gentlemen.
Actually, I
And-
have a comment first.
Sorry, okay.
I'm recusing myself because I live within 500 feet.
Okay.
So I'm going to go home, and my bet was 7:30. Well, it's 7:15.
Okay, we will miss you, and we will see you again in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
I apologize, Mayor and council members, when we got up here, realized didn't have my typical Zoom panelist invite ready, so just bear with me 1 second while I try to get myself into the meeting and can then share my screen. Okay, ready to go. Oops. No, I'm going to need to mute that. Says I don't have audio. All right, testing. There we go. All right, thank you for bearing with me. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Bjorn Griepenberg, Transportation Planner. I'm excited tonight to bring to you, for your consideration, our award of contract for the Rainier Avenue Pavement Restoration Project. Tonight we will go through a brief project overview, provide some context around the city policies and plans that guide our work and really how we approach street design projects. We'll talk about our pilot project out on Rainier Avenue, what we implemented, what we learned, what we heard, and then we will walk through the proposed design for the paving project, our bid results, anticipated construction schedule if this contract is awarded tonight, and our staff recommendation. So this map shows the various upgrades to Rainier Avenue that began last year and are ongoing through 2026. As is typical, we address utility needs prior to paving projects in order to avoid having to trench new pavement. So in 2025, we replaced water services, that's the dashed blue line, between North McDowell Boulevard and Sonoma Mountain Parkway. At the same time, we also installed a new extension of our recycled water system from Maria Drive down to and actually through the North McDowell Boulevard intersection. And what's before you tonight is consideration of our paving project, which covers the full limits from North McDowell up to Sonoma Mountain Parkway. Paving projects represent crucial once in 20 plus year opportunities to make significant design changes to our streets in order to improve safety, accessibility, and traffic flow. And so the next several slides will help shed some light on how we approach these paving projects and how we approach the street design process and determine what changes we ultimately recommend. So first and foremost, the city's Complete Streets policy, adopted in 2016, calls for all transportation improvements, including paving projects, to be designed to support safe and convenient access for all road users. Complete Streets policies became commonplace throughout the country in the 2000s in recognition that our cities have largely been designed solely around the movement of cars, often at the expense of people who are interested in or have to use other modes to get around. In 2022, Council adopted a resolution endorsing Vision Zero, which aims to eliminate severe and fatal traffic collisions by 2030. Since 2013, we've averaged about 10 of these life-ending or altering collisions each year. And speed is almost always the most important factor, really, when it comes to both reducing the frequency and severity of collisions. And this graphic demonstrates the importance of reducing vehicle speeds to accomplish Vision Zero. So you can see here that when struck by a driver traveling 40 miles per hour, just 2 in 10 people will survive. At 20 miles an hour, 9 in 10 people survive. We also use street design to make walking and biking more safe and appealing for those willing and interested in doing so, thereby improving mobility options and reducing car dependency. Transportation is the leading source of greenhouse gas emissions in Petaluma, accounting for 2/3 of our emissions. And walking and biking have great potential to reduce traffic and the associated emissions, with over 2/3 of all trips made in the city being under 2 miles, a distance that can be covered by bike in less than 10 minutes. And then lastly, active transportation and safe streets have been highlighted as council priorities annually in recent years in your goal setting exercises, and also want to highlight the active transportation plan that council adopted in September of last year, with an aim to make Petaluma a world-class active living city where people of all ages and abilities enjoy using active transportation. And that plan really emphasized the importance of a safe and seamless network of safe walking and biking routes throughout the city. So then moving into some of the factors that influence how we create the staff recommended design, we obviously have the amount of space available on the street, so the technical constraints of the road width, city plans and policies, several of which I just referenced. We hear a lot of input from both the broader community, the community at large, and also from residents, and those two the inputs from the community at large and residents of the street often differ. We have to grapple with engineering best practices, design requirements, and of course, professional judgment. And then lastly, budget availability and other cost considerations. So moving into Rainier Avenue, it's classified as an arterial roadway. Our street classification system has arterials, collectors, connectors, and local streets, with arterials being at the top of that pyramid, serving the broadest segment of our community. Rainier carries about 4,300 vehicles on an average weekday. It's a designated bike route in our active transportation plan. Connects students and families with several nearby schools, parks, and of course the community center. It's currently served by Sonoma County Transit Route 44, and there's potential for, if Petaluma Transit were to expand, it may be a logical corridor to serve. And looking at collision history in the 10 years between 2012 and 2022, we had 6 reported injury collisions over that timeframe. So back in 2021, 2022, recognizing that there would soon be a paving project on Rainier Avenue, staff working closely with the community and our pedestrian and bicycle advisory committee began discussing the potential for a pilot project as an opportunity to test a 4 to 3 lane conversion. So replacing one going down from two lanes in each direction to one in each direction with the addition of a new dedicated left turn lane. And so that was developed over the course of 2022 and installed in August of 2022 from North McDowell to Maria only. So you may hear me refer to the pilot section, that's everything west of Maria, and then the non-pilot section being everything east of Maria, which was left in its original configuration. So the benefits of these lane reductions or lane conversion projects, they are strongly recommended by the Federal Highway Administration on any road carrying less than 18 to 20,000 vehicles per day. So we are obviously well below that threshold here on Rainier at just around 4,000 vehicles a day. They eliminate weaving and unsafe driving behavior. They take away the passing opportunities for aggressive drivers. They slow traffic because now you've got to drive the speed of the vehicle in front of you. They reduce the frequency and severity of collisions through all of the above. And they also eliminate the multi-threat collision. And this is really key for pedestrian safety. You can see in this diagram, this applies to anyone trying to cross a multi-lane street, whether by foot, bike, or car. But you can see here for pedestrians the importance where you sometimes on these multi-lane roads encounter a situation where a car in one lane may stop, but the car in the next lane over is unaware of a pedestrian trying to step out into the crosswalk. And we've actually had some severe collisions associated with that here in Petaluma. Another design principle, just wanted to touch on the idea of all ages and abilities bikeways. This should be familiar if you think back to our active transportation plan. And the idea of all ages and abilities bikeways has really been a shift in the way bikeways are designed at a national level. The thinking is that as traffic speed and volume increase, so does the need for separation from traffic to create a safer, more inviting bike facility. So the national guidance is on streets with more than 6,000 vehicles a day or speeds exceeding 25 miles per hour or with multiple lanes in each direction, they strongly recommend protected bike lanes. And on Rainier, really the key factor is the speed. So hence our emphasis on protected bike lanes here. The next couple graphics show how the pilot project was designed, some of the different design components, and if I can find my cursor, there we go. So you can see here, we flipped the parking and the bike lane in the westbound direction, moved the parking out away from the curb, provided that physical separation for the bike lane. We defined parking areas between all the driveways. We also added that left turn lane, which didn't exist before. So that's a rear end, increases the likelihood of rear ends in the previous condition where, if someone's trying to turn left into a driver, they've got to hope that the person behind them stops and doesn't doesn't rear end them. And then in the eastbound direction, we removed parking and installed a buffered bike lane. A couple of adjustments that were made to the design as well in consultation with Rainier residents. Areas were defined for garbage pickup and also for mail trucks, and then also these no parking areas, those coincide with these no parking areas on either side of the driveways, and the hope there was to help provide a little bit more visibility as people are exiting their driveways. And I think that's about it as far as what I need to cover on these. So then just showing the transition from what was there before to the pilot project design. And then we go into some of the data from the pilot project. So we did collect data in three separate instances where we took speed surveys on both the pilot and non-pilot section. And in all three surveys, the pilot section outperformed the non-pilot section with a lot more drivers complying with the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit and reductions in speed, just generally speaking. So in a 2-day survey, we had close to 10% more drivers complying with the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. And then in shorter 30-minute surveys, we had 24% more drivers and 48% more drivers complying with the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. And there were some other figures provided in the staff report as well. Then when we go to collisions, based on the previous 10 years prior to the pilot project installation, we had an average of just under, we had a collision approximately every 2.5 years in the previous 10 years. And so since the pilot project was installed, we have not had any injury collisions in that section. It's now been over 3 years. And over the same time frame, we have had one injury collision at Acadia Drive, which was in the non-pilot section. Our observations and from what we've seen and heard, the parking supply does appear to be adequate. I know there are some challenges with overflow parking from the Park Place apartments, and we'll touch on that in a second. We've had no negative impacts of traffic congestion observed or reported with the lane conversion or lane reduction. And after an initial adjustment period, we really haven't heard any reports of any inappropriate use of the on-street parking or bike lanes. People seem to have figured it out very quickly and made the adjustment. Some of the feedback that we've received over the pilot project, we did hear about challenges seeing oncoming traffic when pulling out of driveways. We've heard complaints about difficulty entering and exiting parked cars on the driver's side due to the proximity of the vehicle lane, and just people feeling that with their cars being off the curb that they feel like they're closer to traffic. From folks who responded to an online survey that the city had up early in the pilot, it was generally unpopular with drivers who responded. We heard opposition to the lane reduction, unfamiliarity, kind of concerns or questions about why the parking was floating off the curb, and some confusion at the transition to the pilot section where the road transitioned from 2 to 1 lane in the westbound direction. And generally it's popular from folks we heard from who bike on the corridor. So we're going to go into the proposed design now, and I just want to highlight some of the changes that have been made to the cross section compared to the pilot project, taking some of that feedback into account. So you will see we are now able to, up here, I'll start at the top in the pilot project, we provided a pretty generous buffer between the parked car, the passenger side of the parked car, and the bike lane. And the reason for this is that at this time, we needed to allow full-size sweepers to be able to get into this space. That was the hope, at least, that Recology would bring their sweepers into this area. However, since the pilot project was implemented, we now have a small bike lane sweeper that we can actually get into smaller spaces. So we were able to actually shrink that buffer area down to the minimum requirement, which is 3 feet between the bike lane and passenger side. So we've shaved off 2 feet there, and then we've added those 2 feet over to the driver's side of the parked cars to provide more of a buffer between the driver's side and traffic. And then the other change that we have made is the addition of an asphalt curb in the eastbound direction so that that bike lane is now fully protected from traffic, physically protected. And that asphalt curb, we're excited about that, a very cost-effective way of creating a protected bike lane, and obviously less of a maintenance requirement for us compared to using, say, delineators. So I do want to touch on that parking buffer just to just highlight that a little bit more. So and the key thing to call out here is that even though we did move the parked cars off the curb in the pilot project, we really didn't move those parked cars any closer to the travel lane. If you look at the section east of Maria in the original configuration, we have about a 12-foot combined width between the parking and bike lane, which leaves about 4 feet between the driver's side of those cars and the closest vehicle lane. So again, exceeding that with our new proposed configuration. The other modification we've made, we did look really closely at sight distance at all of the driveways. And so we have increased the no parking areas on the east sides of driveways. The side we're really concerned about, we want drivers to be able to see especially see traffic coming in the westbound direction, where that's the first potential conflict point, obviously, as people are pulling out of their driveways. And with this design, we also want to emphasize that we encourage people to leave their driveways in 3 stages. First, stop at the edge of your driveway, short of the sidewalk, make sure the sidewalk's clear. Then you can edge out a little bit further, take a look at the bike lane, and then at that point you can edge out to the parking lane and ensure that's clear. And at each step of the way, you're going to gain more sight distance, more visibility looking down the street. So we also had some good feedback about crosswalks, and with this project, we are proposing to not only add some new crosswalks at Prince Albert's Court and at Acadia Drive, and then at the crosswalks, we will also be moving the flashing beacons out into the buffer area so that the beacons are more visible to oncoming traffic. And then, of course, major design proposal here, or design change, to add a roundabout at the what's currently an all-way stop at the Maria Drive intersection. So I'll go into this a little bit. As we were working through the design process, we kept looking at the size of this intersection and also the opportunity. So the opportunity that size affords us. And also just a real nice opportunity to make a more efficient and safer intersection from our point of view. Roundabouts really are, in traffic engineering, they kind of are the silver bullet that accomplishes, there's really very few downsides, if any, and they are great at improving safety and efficiency. So some of the benefits of roundabouts, you can see they significantly reduce the number of conflict points as different road users are navigating the intersection. There are 32 different ways in which drivers can crash into each other in a traditional intersection, and there are only 8 of those conflict points, so 1/4 in a roundabout. They completely eliminate head-on collisions and T-bone collisions. And when crashes do happen, they are generally happening at more of a glancing angle and often at much slower speeds, because roundabouts really do require you to slow down significantly. So with all of that and that improved efficiency, they reduce congestion, they reduce noise, they reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So obviously lots to like about roundabouts. So why here? I mentioned the size of the intersection. You can see that in this image. You can also see that because of the size, we frequently have people spinning donuts in that intersection. In the peak hours, we understand Rainier can be a pretty quiet intersection at times of the day, but there are also times of the day, especially in the morning and PM peak hours, where it gets busy as people are commuting to work and school or coming home from work and school. We do have over 400 vehicles per hour in those peak hours. We know that it's heavily used by students and families traveling to nearby schools and parks, so obviously safety is a heightened concern. We see an opportunity to reduce pedestrian crossing exposure. You can see there it's a pretty long crosswalk, especially across Rainier Avenue. So with a roundabout, you're reducing that exposure significantly, and people are able to cross just one lane of traffic in each direction, and there's a refuge island in the middle where they can pause. And then obviously, as I mentioned before, just the opportunity to reduce the likelihood of severe and fatal crashes. And we've been fortunate at this location. I think there's only been one injury collision at this intersection in recent history, involved someone on a bike getting hit by a driver. But when we look at the speed data, we have seen excessive speeding on Rainier Avenue. Our 2-day survey, we logged a couple drivers going over 70 miles an hour. And so our concern on a street like Rainier is that if one of those speeding drivers going 40, 50, 60 miles an hour runs this stop sign while someone is in that intersection, that will be fatal. And the likelihood of that obviously significantly decreases with the introduction of a roundabout. Looking at the design features, obviously we have several roundabouts here in town. This is probably most similar in size and appearance to the Corona Road Snow Mountain Parkway roundabout shown there on the top, just looking at the kind of the inner landscape diameter and then the outer mountable apron. The center of this will be landscaped and irrigated with recycled water. We're currently working with a local landscape architect on a plan, and that would be implemented shortly after the completion of the construction project. And this roundabout, it will be first of its kind in a way for Petaluma. We're always looking for ways to improve bike circulation at roundabouts, and I don't truly think we've gotten it right with a lot of the current roundabouts, but we're getting closer. And this is a kind of a common throughout the country with cities that have implemented roundabouts. The approach to getting bikes around and through roundabouts has really evolved. And so this one will feature protected bike lanes that follow the perimeter of the roundabout and allow people on bikes to cross using the crosswalks. And so that's an option, obviously, for folks who are a little bit less comfortable merging into traffic and taking the lane. But for your more confident cyclists, they always will have that option too, to take the lane at the roundabout. And at least, at that point, traffic's moving slowly. You're in a very visible location. So a couple ways to do it, but happy to provide that opportunity for people who are less confident. And then we also have some green infrastructure in this project. We did work with a hydrologist to identify locations with the greatest benefit to reducing stormwater pollution. And so we have an 800 square foot bioretention planner proposed in the landscaped area near or just east of Acadia Drive, the Acadia Drive intersection. And so these bioswales reduce stormwater pollution because they intercept trash, tire particles, oil, and allow the water to filter through the soil before it then enters our stormwater system. And so some of that water obviously also is going into our groundwater and enhancing groundwater recharge. But anything that doesn't absorb into the ground goes into our stormwater system and eventually ends up in creeks and our river. Moving on to the budget. So there is a discussion of this in the staff report. We are going to be bringing this project forward for consideration of a mid-year budget adjustment. And we have an updated estimate that reflects our more advanced design and understanding of project needs. And so the construction award aligns with those updated cost assumptions and the mid-year budget adjustment. The new total project budget is in the neighborhood of $3.6 million. That includes everything from our design, overhead, a $300,000 contingency, and our proposed construction contract. And so we did have a competitive bid for this project. We had 6 different companies bid on this project. Our engineer's estimate was about $3 million for the construction, and you can see a lot of these were pretty close. And so tonight we are recommending award to Argonaut Constructors at just shy of $2.9 million. Assuming this project is awarded, we're hoping to get this into construction in mid-March and anticipate completion in late summer or early fall of 2026. As always, we will provide notification to residents and email subscribers, and you can sign up for those email updates at cityofpetaluma.org/Rainier Paving. And then we'll also have ongoing construction updates via all of the city communications challenges. So our recommended action tonight is to adopt a resolution awarding a construction contract for the Rainier Avenue Pavement Restoration Project to Argonaut Constructors, Inc. in the amount of $2,884,048. And I do want to note, I believe we have an addition that is needed to the resolution. I'll pass it over to our city attorney to cover that.
Thank you, Boren. And Council, what we'd like to recommend that we do concerning the resolution is add a new recital as a new second recital in the resolution that's in your packet. And I can read that now or when the council gets ready to act on the resolution, whichever you prefer. The purpose of the addition is to make sure we take advantage of Design Immunity and Government Code Section 830.6 for the design that's been prepared based on facts that are included in a memo that addresses the design that staff have prepared to also be added to the package tonight as an exhibit to the resolution, and that they have provided the clerk for that purpose. So when it's time, I'll be glad to read that so that can go into the record if the council is supportive of taking that action in addition to what's been presented tonight. Thank you.
Right. I don't think I was perfectly clear on what that was, and I'm wondering if we were able to present a red line on screen. And while that operation is going on in the background, let me bring it back up to council, and thank you very much for the presentation here, and any questions about the presentation. Councilmember Shribs.
Yes, so in the actual dollars amounts for each of these bids, there are differences between like 2 or 3 of them is much, much less than 1% and much, much less than any change order that might actually happen. So from a significant point of view, from being a statistics person, they're not significantly different based on possible changes that might be coming up. So even though the dollar amounts is the least for the Argonaut, I just wanted to do a check-in so that there's other factors such as possible change orders that might happen and who might be most cooperative, who would be the most responsible, and who has the best history of construction with us. So we know that so I would consider the 2 or 3 lowest pretty much equal financially. Is there other factors that we should be considering before giving it to one company or the other?
We've worked with all those contractors, and they've all been great. The top 2, Team Gelati, Argonaut, we've worked with them, and again, they've been great contractors to work with. And when our CIP team kind of reviewed the bids, they kind of looked through that scope to see if there was anything missed or if they maybe adjusted their numbers to maybe look for change order opportunities. I can say, at least for the low bidder, we've worked them on the Maria project, the first phase of it. So from Sonoma Mountain to this, obviously, to the street we're talking about tonight. And they did a great job. So I'm confident that they will be able to bring this project forward. They've worked on a similar project for us, doing kind of full depth reclamation, complete streets, and been very successful with it.
Okay, good. And for this contract, is this just for the road work above, or is it also including all of the pipes underground also that's being done? And then also the landscaping at the end? Is it just for the road work, or is it more? What more?
Just for the road work. The utility project was completed prior to this, so they've already installed the recycle water main and water services. This project does include 1 or 2 recycle water connections that they'll do, but for the most part, it's just the road work above the ground.
Good. And I think there was some answers. I asked some questions, and they are listed, I think, in the agendas, or at least the notes that from the meeting. So thank you for answering those questions, because you just got them like yesterday or even this morning. But there was a couple in there that the recycled water, it will have the capacity to go under the freeway even if in the future at some point in time. So that was like one of them. And another one was about the parking at that corner. There was some concerns about those corners, and there's 2 homes that are located there, and there was parking issues, concerns as getting in and out of driveways. In your answers there, you want to reiterate those just so we're because I think it would be worthwhile reiterating those issues and the solutions that you've come up with.
Yeah, so we have looked at those 2 corners really closely. For the rest of the council, these are the 2 corners of the west, I'll call it the north or west leg of Maria at Rainier. So if you're driving eastbound out away from downtown, on your left, we have a tilted axis that makes things challenging. We did look really closely at those 2 corners because we really wanted to minimize impacts to those 2 homes. If we were to leave the intersection as is today, we would be red curbing the first 20 feet in front of the crosswalk for this daylighting laws, state daylighting laws. With the roundabout, we did everything we could to try to retain the additional parking space that exists between where that red curb would be and their driveway. And unfortunately, just were not able to make that work. So there will be an additional parking spot on each side of the street that would be removed to make way for the roundabout. We will not be doing a raised middle island on the Maria approaches. It'll just be striped. So there will still be, they will still have the ability to get in and out of their driveways whereas on the Rainier approaches, we have raised concrete islands at the approaches.
Okay, good, thank you. So I just wanted to make sure we covered the safety concerns there, and it looked like those streets, there's still plenty of parking, just like within a few feet for both those homes, everything. So not that much walking for them to park a little bit of ways. Is that correct?
Yeah, I know. I mean, obviously all the homes in that area have driveways, and then there is, there's street park, not really any other street parking constraints, just kind of the typical conditions you would find on a residential street like that.
Good, good. And we already have I think one of the questions I asked was about the landscaping. And is that going to be a separate contract? And do we have that already in place? Do we have the monies allocated?
Yeah, so we have, right now we have a landscape architect working on a very reasonable landscape design. And for I think the price was $6,000 for the landscape design, and then our plan was to issue a minor construction contract after the completion of the paving project to install that landscaping plan. And from our experience, that's just a more cost-effective way. Sometimes with these bigger projects, you end up with the landscaping items can add up, and so we felt confident with that approach.
Right, and the landscape is just for basically sounds like the roundabout and the bios. Is there anything about along Rainier? There's still landscape on either side where trees and shrubbery could be put in. Is that going to be part of this project, or is that going to be an add-on later?
Depending on where the trees are, it's going to be an add-on later. We have identified locations along Rainier. I think I mentioned in the council questions closer to North McDowell, where our crews removed some trees that were kind of dying and dead. So there's opportunities to add more. So we are working with Relief to be able to come up with a game plan for streets within the right-of-way to be able to strategically get those placed like we did on Snow Mountain Parkway.
Good. And then getting to the bioswale, there's just one that's only 800 square foot. Tell us about the volume of water that will hold, or how much of the street surface, like a 1 inch, if we get a ½ inch of rain even, how much of the street will be, just for practicality purposes, what percentage of the water, how can you tell us a little bit about how effective it's going to be, given it's a very long street and it's only one little bioswale?
Yeah, so when Bjorn mentioned it, we had a hydrologist come in and help us identify all the locations along Rainier that would be possible locations for bioswales. We typically have not been doing them with our bigger streets because we just haven't had a lot of big street projects. So this is kind of one of the first, and we use this as kind of a trial to find a solution that we can utilize here and drop into all our next projects. As we're designing Howard Street right now, we're using that similar design to be able to kind of incorporate it into bulb outs. So it's something new to us, but not new to everybody else. But again, it's going to be coming on more projects. So as we laid these out along Rainier, several locations were identified. Some of them kind of in the streets, in the painted bulb out areas, the drainage area to them wasn't very much, and the cost to build kind of retaining walls within the road to kind of protect the road were very costly. So we kind of went through a cost benefit analysis to determine which ones had the most benefit. So this 800 square foot one was kind of a low hanging fruit for us to be able to get something in there very cost effective, get some greenery on the road, and still have a large drainage shed. I don't have the exact numbers of what that area exactly it is, but as you mentioned, it is a very long stretch. So typically when you do bioswales, I believe you treat for like 10% of the 100-year storm. So it's not designed to handle a normal huge storm. It's kind of designed those smaller storms. So like if in the case where we have a big storm, it'll fill up and then it'll overflow. It'll go back into a storm drain. So there's a redundancy built into these to be able to carry the water away if it can't handle the infiltration.
Right, and so it is, from the design, I couldn't quite see how close it was to the actual roundabout, because I think when you have that structure there, getting the water to move away from the roundabout and drain so you don't end up with puddles and anywhere around the roundabout, that's pretty difficult because you have to grade everything. So is the bioswale going to really help remove water from the roundabout so it flows out any better? So is that a possibility? Is that what's happening, or is it just for retention?
It's for retention. I mean, all the water is going to go into, we have storm drains at all the intersections. So when it rains, the water is going to make it into a storm drain. This is just taking that flow that would be normally go into the storm drain and treating it. As Bjorn mentioned, some of it's going to be treated, some of it's going to absorb in and get back into the aquifers. Some of it, once it's fully kind of concentrated, it's going to overflow into a system. So it's a way of kind of reutilizing some of that resource, as well as if it's going to make it back into the rivers, treating it before it goes. So treating it with, if it has oils or fuels in it, a way to treat it so it doesn't get back into the creeks and rivers.
Right, just to make sure that all that curb structure, there's a lot of curb structure that's going into there, and just make sure we have water flow and oil movement, all kind of moves away to keep it safe. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the primer on bioswales and first storms. There's a complex issue where it's a mitigation for pollution and trash, not a detention, an attempt at detention. Were there, Councilmember Quint?
Thank you. Just a few, hopefully these are really quick questions. And I know you touched on some of this, but I think they're helpful points just to reiterate. Will a 4-lane to 3-lane conversion on Rainier make the road safer?
Yes, absolutely. All of the data points to one lane, single lane in each direction, and turn lanes being far safer than multi-lane roads.
Thank you. Will a 4-lane to 3-lane conversion cost more or less in the long run to maintain?
I would slightly less, because you're going to have less pavement exposed to the high volume of vehicle traffic.
Thank you. Will a 4-lane to 3-lane conversion create congestion?
No, not from what we've seen. Given the FHWA tells us around 20,000 vehicles a day is where you might start seeing congestion impacts. But like I said, we're at closer to 4,000 vehicles a day, so about 1/5 of that.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, same questions about the roundabout. Will a roundabout make the intersection safer?
Yes, from our perspective, yeah.
Will a roundabout cost more or less in the long run to maintain?
That's an interesting question. I don't know if we've done the math on maintaining pavement versus maintaining landscaping. Do you have any thoughts, Jeff?
The hardest thing about a roundabout when it comes to maintenance is just the fact that it's a roundabout. It's very hard to maintain traffic. We had to replace all of the streetlights at the Corona one. So it was challenging. It wasn't impossible. It just kind of, you got to get creative with traffic control and making it. So there are some difficulties that come with roundabouts, but the overall benefit of it is much better.
But there's nothing in the data right now to suggest that it's going to cost a lot more money to maintain.
No.
Thank you. Will a roundabout create congestion?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Now.
Thank you for those questions, Councilmember Quinn. Those were really helpful. Replacing the bollards on McDowell, there's quite a few missing. Is that our responsibility, or is that part of the grant and we have a warehouse full of bollards to replace them with?
Those are city-owned and maintained. And I think with those, the question would be replacement versus just sort of letting them take their licks, and possibly in some areas you have increased spacing. But that's we did look at those for Rainier, and that's why we're excited to move to the asphalt curb, because it will not require that ongoing maintenance.
Well, because the ones that were put on Rainier, they were lost immediately. Mm-hmm. I mean, within a couple of months. So your cement wall barrier that keeps the cars out. The concrete gets broken and then it's very sharp. We know that at Baywood and McDowell. It's an older roundabout. How are we going to keep drivers from hitting that concrete wall and making it unsafe?
Yeah, so I know the inner or the diameter, the perimeter of the roundabout is it has kind of a mountable apron, so that won't be an issue. I don't know if you want the splitter islands, if you've got any.
Yeah, so for the splitter islands, everything was designed with very round corners, so sweeping turns in to avoid that. We have the protected bike lane coming through the roundabout as well, but instead of doing a full AC curb going through, we did somewhat of a mountable one, so it's able for larger trucks or fire engines who are making that turn to still go over it. So pretty confident that we won't have curbs that are become kind of sharp objects for flat tires. We designed it in a way that for a roundabout, everything's round. So it's, there's a benefit to that.
And it's designed with those larger vehicle turning movements in mind. So obviously for someone driving a private, just a typical car, they're going to be able to maneuver it with much more ease than someone operating a larger vehicle, and should be able to stay away from those curbs.
Can it have reflectors placed on it or painting that reflects, because it's foggy in that area and very dark, and I'm sure that is used quite often coming off of McDowell or coming off of Snow Mountain Parkway, and the drivers are aware of the new configuration.
Yeah, so we will have, there's the thermoplastic striping will be on either side of the island. So that's the reflective roadway paint. And it's usually about 6 inches off the curb. So that should provide a pretty clear visual indication of where that curb is for drivers.
And additionally, the thermoplastic will have pavement markers, so they're reflective markers that you see on the ground. They're usually every 20 or so feet, and they're visible when your headlights hit it. You get it back. The bull noses on the corners are all going to be painted, so everything's going to be visible and not blend in with the surrounding.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? Councilmember DeCarli?
Thank you for the presentation. I was wondering, with we have a finite amount of roads that we can pave every year in the city. How was it that Rainier got selected over other roads that see higher volumes of traffic, speeds, injuries, fatalities, where Rainier is overall a pretty safe road?
So I know all of our paving projects we do our best to coordinate between utility and paving needs. Is one of the primary factors when we see that there's an upcoming, like I said, with Rainier, we had the need to replace all of the water services that folks in the quad lots on Rainier, that's how they get their water. And then also we had some grant funding to get the recycled water main to extend the system from Maria down to North McDowell. So just the opportunity with all of that trenching going on, obviously, if you go out there right now, you're hitting speed bumps. And so that's we've obviously compromised the pavement surface, and then the paving itself is old. It's failed. I think when we were initially looking at this project, we were anticipating it would be a grind and overlay. And now it's a full depth reclamation because the roadway has failed in many areas. So those are two factors: the pavement quality, utility coordination, and then just the role of Rainier as a street that serves so many nearby schools and parks, helped elevate it. And this was done, I believe Rainier was identified possibly prior to the 5-year paving plan. I know since then we have created even more, applied some really quantitative criteria to identify all of the upcoming paving projects.
And then, excuse me, I saw the data for cars that travel the road, but do we have any for the number of bicycles that use it?
I don't believe so. I don't think we've taken any bike counts out there.
Okay. I'm just wondering, does the city receive grant money, or are we incentivized in some way to make street design changes that would constrain vehicle traffic and promote alternative forms?
No, this project is locally funded, so there's no grant criteria or requirements that we are complying with here.
Okay. And so, you mentioned like fatalities citywide on road, and obviously Vision Zero is something that's important, but we haven't had any on Rainier. So, again, why would we kind of focus on that when there's other roads that maybe need to be made safer?
Yeah, I think it goes back to kind of applying that complete streets policy, applying all of the various adopted policies and plans, and putting those into action. And essentially, anytime we're touching a street, and especially for a paving project, that's a really good opportunity to make pretty large scale changes, enhancements to a street. So that's our practice. I mean, I think if you look at any of our recent paving projects, especially on Petaluma Boulevard South or North McDowell, these bigger streets, kind of similar to Rainier in the sense that they are just large arterial streets. There's a lot of opportunity. These streets were designed at a time when, frankly, traffic engineers and civil engineers were not really thinking about much other than vehicle throughput. And so now, that's where best practices are. That's where policy is. It's, let's create a system of streets that people can drive, people can walk, people can bike. They're safe, they're accessible, they're inviting for all ages and abilities. And that's, I think, kind of the mandate we've been given to design a really complete, seamless network of those types of streets.
And then, since the staff are here tonight, I kind of want to ask a broader question about how come we didn't see any other roads repaved in the last year until now?
It's been multiple factors. I think a lot of the projects we have, they're large projects. So we just finished up the Maria section. We had this one in design. We have Howard. We have D Street. The main thing is Howard was supposed to go sooner than it was. We had challenges with the consultant. Their idea of what the design should have been was different than ours. So we decided to bring that in-house. But then we had a shortage in engineers, so it was just kind of worst case scenario. So we went back out to get a consultant to hire for that project, and it came in 2 to 3 times higher than we ever thought it was. So we kind of had to go back to the drawing boards. It's currently in design right now for Howard Street, and we're about 50%. So it's just moving much faster now. It just we hit a speed bump, and we had to kind of stop, gather all our stuff, and kind of come up with a new game plan. We have a 5-year plan, which is, since I've been here, one of the best things we did to be able to have a plan that we can kind of rely on, know what we're doing year to year. And I think now we're starting to settle into that 5-year plan and have a kind of a clear direction of where we're going with it.
Right. Well, and that's important because that's a commitment the city made. And the ATP was mentioned a lot tonight, and so I didn't know if maybe any of the delays in repaving things had to do with that, the passage of that.
No, not at all.
No? Okay. That's all my questions.
Thank you. And with that, we'll go to public comment. I'll ask the clerk if we've had anyone weigh in online.
We did receive comments ahead of the meeting. We received 38, and those are posted to the website. And I see I have a few cards coming in.
All right, our first speaker tonight is Stephanie Adams, to be followed by Bruce Hagan.
Hello, me again. This is in my neighborhood. I've lived in this area for 30 years, and I would walk my dog through this intersection. My parents had a Park Place unit that was in your photo, like it was right on Rainier. I used to park on Rainier. So I just want to say I'm really happy to see measures being taken to slow down traffic. There's chunks of the day where no cars are going down that road hardly at all. But when it's peak time, they fly down there. And in more recent years, when I'm walking, crossing that intersection, crossing Rainier from Maria, it's only 2 lanes, but it's 2 lanes plus parking on either side, so it's wide. And people are flying from Sonoma Mountain. They really are. And there's a curve coming down from North McDowell. So anyway, I'm grateful that measures are being taken to slow it down so that I'm not feeling like I'm taking my life in my hands when I'm just trying to cross the road. So that really resonated with me, is bringing down the pain points from 32 down to 8. And I also wanted to say, if they're going to plant something in the middle of that roundabout, I think that'll help a lot. I think Bayview gets into trouble because there's nothing there. And if people aren't paying attention, they're not paying attention, and boom, they're on it. You know, I know that there was a fatality there about a decade ago. Poor guy taking out his trash bins right there, like, oh my God. So I think having a visual, like there's something in front of you, pay attention, I think is going to help a lot because, like you said, you have more space. Anyway, I'm just really grateful to have this project going forward and the forethought that has gone into it. It was so difficult when it was first painted in the bollards, and you were like, oh my God. And I can see why they all got taken out in the beginning, but people got used to it. I got used to it. It makes sense now, but it's a new thing. It's a different way of looking at it, and we get used to it. So anyway, I think it's great. Thanks for your work.
Thank you. Bruce Hagan, to be followed by Sandra Martinez.
Major water spill. Yeah. Hello, everybody.
That's a bioswell.
Pardon? I'm Bruce Hagan, a volunteer for Safe Streets Petaluma, and my message is stand by your plan. And I'm talking about the active transportation plan. Another thing I wanted to say was basically what Bjorn just said, because that's the best summary of all the reasons why we want to go forward in the next 2, 3, 4 years and build more of this stuff everywhere. There's so many good reasons for it, and to be able to fit it into the city's existing plans for underground utility maintenance and just fixing the bumpy streets is brilliant, and let's keep going with that. We were formed 4 years ago to help Safe Streets Petaluma, to help create a citywide transportation network that is safe, healthy, and affordable for everyone, whether you walk or drive or roll or take transit. And that is now in this plan. So what we want to move forward with is seeing these projects now starting getting queued up, smartly designed, very carefully funded, and built and celebrated. The plan for Rainier is, everything I've seen here is more than what I actually expected in a good way. So nothing to comment on that. I think that the public perception of what's going to happen when there's this strange thing called a roundabout or barrier protected bike lanes, that everywhere else that we've studied or heard about is that after the construction is over, people realize what this stuff actually is and isn't, then the opposition melts away and you have a lot of supporters, a lot more supporters. So I think one of the things we could do perhaps as this is getting built, or maybe when it's launched, is to have some sort of big party around there and talk to people about how to drive through a roundabout. It's not that complicated. And maybe they already know and they're just being grumpy, but I think this is something that we want to make sure that doesn't get in the way of our progress. So I think last of all, I just had to quote Tammy Wynette here and say, stand by your plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sandra Martinez, to be followed by Darren Rackison.
Hey, good evening. I live on Maria and Rainier. Tonight I'm asking you to make some serious and thoughtful consideration for the people who live on Maria and Rainier, and not just how traffic moves through our neighborhood, but how we use it every day. For those of us, the ability to access our driveways, park in front of our homes, it's not a convenience, but it's a daily necessity. Removing that access would permanently change how we use our homes. I respectfully ask that you do not approve any design that removes that parking or eliminates the ability to temporarily block our driveways. I'm asking that the crosswalk remain as close as possible to the current location. Because of the 20-foot clearance law, moving the crosswalk or creating a designated bike lane will directly eliminate residential parking and access. This balance has already been achieved at Magnolia and Elm. Safety improvements were made without permanently altering how residents access or use that street. Council has the ability to make a meaningful impact here without over-engineering the solution or creating long-term consequences for the people who live closest to this project. I'm asking you to prioritize residential need and avoid the designs that restrict access to our homes. Please remember, this is not just a traffic project, but this is where people live, where we raise our families, and where daily access to our homes is necessity. I also ask that you ask construction to finish at least by 4 o'clock. They ran really late, past 7 o'clock when they were doing the water main, and takes them a really long time to clean up their equipment. It's really loud. And to please continue to ask questions. You guys ask really good questions to the city staff. And I would like you to also ask them how changing the bike lane would change this roundabout and how we on Maria access our homes. I have a feeling, and I've talked to Bjorn before, that if that bike lane were to move back on the side where the cars are, that it would change everything there in that roundabout belt. So please continue to do a good job in asking those questions, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Darren Rackison, to be followed by Ed Enzor.
Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, Council. I just have 3 points to raise, mostly centered around the final table in the staff report, the budgeting table for pavement restoration. This kind of follows a theme we saw last week with the project to retrofit the firehouse as well. And it's that first line item, design, administration, and overhead, nearly tripled for the project. It's one thing for Argonaut to come in higher because obviously inflation, things change. The administrative fees and some of those staff fees are things the city controls, and this is something that, again, I said last time, is we want to try to make sure we're scoping those accurately at the start, controlling them as best we can so these projects actually get across the finish line and we're not adding administrative costs. And something that was mentioned at that meeting by one of the public works staff was something to the effect of, well, we've changed some of how we bill out some of our administrative hours and assign them to projects. Now, to me, I instantly start thinking, okay, are we billing out some hours that may have classically been overhead in one of these departments? It gets assigned to a project. That can happen a couple of ways. That can either be through like better time card tracking and job costing. So now someone who might have been booked their full week to overhead, split out some hours on this project. We get a more accurate sense of what the staff budget is. There's also a methodology to take a percentage of overhead and then aggregate it over different projects to spread that overhead over different projects as kind of a percent estimate. I'm less of a fan of that strategy, but I'm just curious if that is like a financial change, and then the implications as we bring more projects forward, are we going to keep running into this? Like, hey, finance within the last 6 months, a year, whenever the changeover happened from Jessica Gooch to now Corey coming back in, has there been a change in job costing that we're going to see as every SIP project comes forward, where we should anticipate a big admin spike because of how we're billing out hours and overhead versus project? So that's a big one I want to flag as kind of a trend. And then the other piece of this was the where the money's going to come from, the funding sources. It looked like there was a big drop in the street maintenance or highway users tax with an increase in infrastructure bonds. Just wondering the reason for that. Usually the taxes are pretty predictable. It'd be kind of a lot for it to change as the amount we anticipate getting from a tax to decrease by $600K. That seems to have other drastic implications. So I'm curious about that funding source. And then all of this is in the context of the mid-year budget update, which was referenced by staff. The resolution does not say, though, that the awarding of this contract to Argonaut is dependent on approving a mid-year budget update. Now, maybe that's implied somehow in that language. Sometimes the whereas statements can get confusing, but it didn't look like, so if we approve Argonaut to blow out the current budget and say, well, we'll come back and approve the mid-year budget, well, we've already signed a contract, so we're going to have to. So just order of operations and approving that mid-year budget, and then some of these things like this project, like the firehouse, how do we try to bring those after we've approved the budget? Thanks.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ed Anzor, to be followed by Eris Weaver.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. You know, in March of 2020, the city did a survey on Rainier, commissioned by your city, 35 miles an hour. I also requested all the data on the surveys since the changeover. I got 6 days of comprehensive surveys, not 30-minute blips. It's 24 hours a day, every hour how many cars went through what intersection at what time. So the busiest hour in the 6-day survey, 24 hours a day, was 204 cars. That's only 3.5 cars a minute. So I don't know where this traffic congestion or traffic issue is with 3 cars a minute at the busiest day. When it comes to roundabouts, they always tell you it reduces fatalities and serious accidents by 90%. You had 0 fatalities in 25 years. That's data the city sent to me. Not 12 years of accidents, 25 years. That's a bigger sample size. You had 7 cars and 3 bicycles. Unless you have the accident report, you don't know what caused it. It's just a raw number. Now, I heard him mention that there was a car doing 65. You don't know what kind of car that is. Was it a police car going to a call for service? It's just a raw number. Another thing with the speed, in the 6-day survey, 24 hours a day, the average speed was anywhere from 33 to 37. Did you slow traffic down with the new change? Absolutely not. And sir, and I'm not trying to call you out, you cannot definitively say a road will be safer. It all depends on driver habit. It has nothing to do with the roadway. I investigated accidents for 20 years. I'm certified by the state of California. It's always the driver. It's not the road. When it comes to roundabouts, if you have 0 fatalities, you're not going to reduce it by any. In the accidents, there were 7. You don't even know if the intersection was the cause of the accident unless you see the report. It could be it could be down the block, it's how it's written. So you got to read the report itself. When it comes to emissions, that's a fallacy. If you read the studies on roundabouts, it talks about large intersections. And I'll give you the example, East Washington and McDowell at 5 o'clock. All the 4 lanes from the freeway to McDowell are stopped. There's about 100 cars sitting there idling. Not at Rainier and McDowell, Berea and Rainier. You get 3 cars a minute, cars are not idling. And I'll end with this. I just got stuck in traffic in Hawaii. It's caused by a roundabout. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Eris Weaver, to be followed by Nick Harris.
Hi, thank you. Eris Weaver, Executive Director of the Sonoma County Bicycle Coalition. And we are very happy to support moving forward with this project on Rainier, as well as pleased how well the city has done with doing pilots ahead of time and then incorporating feedback on what worked and didn't work to change the driveway access and make that easier for people. I personally love roundabouts. I love them so much that when I'm bicycling through one, I sometimes go around a couple extra times just for fun. And I was very involved with the City of Cotati campaign a year or 2 ago to eliminate or undo Cotati's ban on roundabouts. I want to respond to something that one of the other speakers said, because it's something that comes up anytime we have any of these conversations about changing a road in a way that might remove parking or, folks who reside on a street care about, what's happening on their street, but we don't own the street we live on. The streets belong to the city, the streets belong to everyone, and I don't think I'm the one who has more say over what happens on the street in front of my house than anybody else does. That we have to make design for streets for the good of the whole community and not just the folks who happen to live on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick Harris, to be followed by Chantel Rogers. And I see Nick has a card here to seated from Maureen Gottschall. Maureen in the house? Okay, there we go.
Thank you. Good evening, council, mayor, staff. This is going to be kind of a difficult comment because it's really around accountability. And I want to put what we're talking about tonight into context, starting with the 5-year paving program approved about 1.5 years ago. This Rainier project was a $2.4 million projected budget project out of $22 million in road rehab projects for this fiscal year and the previous fiscal year. Rainier's the only project that has moved forward. That's really worrisome to me because we've spent a lot of time. I want to also comment on what's happening tonight, as this is a agenda item to make a contract award, and a lot of the conversation is about new design and design changes and priorities around that. I find it odd. I'm commenting tonight on agenda item 6, the Rainier Avenue Pavement Restoration Project Contract Award. I'm asking you to tighten oversight and accountability tonight, not because road repairs aren't needed, but because the way this item is structured repeats a pattern that weakens transparency, invites budget inflation, and contributes to continued slippage in capital project timelines. Both the staff report and the resolution state that an updated project budget, quote, will be brought forward as part of the city's upcoming mid-year budget update. They also say sufficient funding is included in that updated budget, but only, quote, subject to city council approval of the mid-year budget adjustments. From the public's point of view, that's a contradiction. You're being asked to award a contract today based on a funding and appropriations decision that will occur later on an unknown date. The packet repeatedly references an upcoming mid-year budget update, but does not identify when that appropriation item will occur. And as of right now, the mid-year budget update does not appear on tentative agendas or on the published list of significant upcoming items. This matters because the resolution directs staff to issue the notice to proceed once the contractor submits required documents. That converts a future mid-year budget vote into a pressured, practical formality. Council previously approved a $2.6 million total project budget. The staff report now states the project total has been updated to almost $3.6 million. That is a material change. The sources table shows a major funding shift from steep street maintenance and highway tax drops 75% and bonds increase by more than double. That kind of change should not be treated as routine. Even if it's technically permissible, it changes what other projects can be delivered and creates the appearance of budget stretching to absorb bond capacity. Attached public records, emails include internal communication, explicitly focus on spending down remaining payment bond proceeds, that's of the 20 million Measure U bond, and concern that, quote, not much has been spent. That's speaking to this fiscal year, with the preference that remaining proceeds be spent by June 30th of this calendar year. That context makes the jump at bond reliance in this staff report especially important to discuss transparency, not buried as a table change. I also want to flag something I find alarming and disappointing based on council's discussion at the last meeting. In response to questions about increased CIP overhead, Public Works staff said they were directed to use a percentage amount to account for overhead, and that was essentially the only explanation offered. If finance is directing Public Works to load more overhead into CIP projects as a matter of percentage-based policy, that is not a harmless accounting choice, especially when many of these CIP projects are being financed with interest over 30-year bond terms. Every additional dollar costed into a bond-funded project can become a long-term cost to taxpayers once it is financed and amortized. A major part of the public's frustration is not just money, it's the continued slipping of CIP capital project timelines and explanations that don't add up. The city's internal communications show that as of September 2025, staff reported approximately $4.2 million of payment bond proceeds remain unspent, and that the city has already passed 4 years since issuance of those bonds, meaning we've been paying debt service while the public receives no corresponding benefit. At the same time, delays are getting more expensive. The producer price index series for net inputs to highway and streets rose 35%. 35% increase in costs from January 2021 to December 2025. Project slippage isn't neutral. It actively destroys purchasing power. Every year we wait, fewer feet of pavement get delivered for the same dollars. I've appreciated the mayor's prior questions, comments, and concerns in this regard, especially during budget workshops last year. In fact, Mayor McDonald specifically asked Public Works if additional headcount could speed up projects, to which staff replied no. I am dismayed to observe a full-service city with more headcount than ever before encounter slippage to this extent. In that context, I want to put on the record that last Monday I emailed the city manager and management team and did not receive a response. The question goes directly to oversight and the credibility of project planning. Dear management team, in a meeting last year, it was disclosed that pavement reconstruction projects originally slated for this fiscal year were delayed approximately 2 years due to, quote, utilities funding shortfall. According to this fiscal year capital budget, Howard Street pavement reconstruction was fully funded. Thank you.
Thank you. Chantel Rogers is our next speaker, to be followed by Nathan Spindell.
Hi. I just had a question about the added cement barrier for the bike lane, which I understand is a very recent addition to the project based on feedback from users, and certainly a viable consideration. But being that it's an add-on, I assume that it was not part and parcel considered in the engineering of the project. And so I'm wondering about drainage, because I imagine that the engineering anticipated that, during a heavy downpour, the water would flow all the way over to the curb and out to wherever it goes. And by putting up a cement barrier and only having one lane, what is the likelihood of puddling? It looked like the cement barrier was continuous, all the way down the street. Are there breaks in that so that water can exit? And is this possibly an unintended consequence of an add-on, which is valuable, but which we need to make sure that that we have drainage, and that it coincides with engineering for the rest of the project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nathan Spindell, to be followed by our last speaker of the evening, John Hanania.
This new design for Rainier Avenue is a great enhancement. The project improves the safety of Rainier with new crosswalks, protected bike lanes, and a roundabout. These elements are proven to make streets significantly safer for all users. As a driver, pedestrian, cyclist, and young parent, I'm a fan of the existing 6 roundabouts in Petaluma. They work well, move cars efficiently, and lower speeds, which significantly reduces the chance of severe injuries or fatalities. I live close to Petaluma's newest roundabout on D Street and Windsor, and I can confirm it significantly slows drivers, including myself, and it also improves safety and eases crossing for pedestrians. Given the significant speeding on Rainier, adding a roundabout at Maria makes a lot of sense. It will reduce vehicle speeds and collisions, making it safer for everyone. If and when collisions do occur, They'll happen at much slower speeds, hopefully avoiding tragedy. Rainier is an important and busy corridor in Petaluma. It connects homes, schools, parks, sports fields, shopping, and medical offices. I'm glad the city is prioritizing safety on this corridor. In the last week, I've chatted with 10 friends who live on and near Rainier Ave about this new design. All but one of them currently have young children, and they frequently walk and bike to Lucchese Park. They were all very supportive of the new design, especially the roundabout. They weren't able to participate tonight, and they wanted me to echo their support as well. Thanks.
Thank you. John Hanania. And John, I know your card came in late, and so I accepted it, so I could say that this was not the precedent, but that this was the chance for me to say that folks that know when the cards are needed to come in need to get the cards in by that time, or they will not be added. I can understand someone's first time at council, they might have missed it or slow to the pickup, but this is not our precedent to have people submit cards late. So you may continue with your comments, but in terms of clarifying policy, which you've asked for previously, there's some clarity. Thank you. Your clock may start.
Well, I'll touch base on that next time. Change. Some people like change, some people don't like change. Some people can deal with it, some people can't deal with it. But I have to disagree with your staff when they talk about the safety. How many of you, if any of you, and I will say none of you, have done, go sit on Baywood and McDowell. Council member now tease me because of my zigzag, because I avoid the roundabout. Can any of you tell me how many people died at the roundabout in Baywood? How many accidents? How many big trucks flipped over? You guys, yeah, Karen, you can tell me, I know that because you and I talked about this, okay? So the roundabout, it's only safe, as some of the speakers have said, driver habits. I avoid driving down Baywood to go to roundabout because you have to sit there forever in order to cross McDowell because people zipping through at very high speed. Okay? I don't, and you can't afford to say to the community, okay, we're going to send a police officer to sit there and monitor. Okay? How many of you have seen the white car with the orange and blue paint on it, Caltrans, sitting on the side of the freeway observing? You guys sit up there, make a decision, and once your decision is done, you don't follow through for the safety. So I'll challenge any of you to sit there at Baywood with me, and you can see it with your own eyes. Then you can ask your staff, where's the safety? How many of you have asked the police department to have a police officer there? You can't. Why? Because we're understaffed. Why? Because you're overspending everything, all the money elsewhere. One of the speakers raised a very good issue. Why is Rainier was chosen? Okay? I have a good idea, but you're not going to like it. Okay? The street I live on, 50 years it hasn't been touched. It's safer for you to walk on a cheese grater or a knife than to walk in my court. It ruined my brand new shoes. I asked your city manager to pay for it. She laughed. So I don't understand your decisions. You sit there, you make it sound like you're doing a great job. And as long as somebody's tapping you in the back, telling you you're doing a great job, it's fine. But once, my time's up. Thank you.
That closes public comment for the evening. And I think there's a lot of public comment that resonates. I certainly wish my street had been paved in the last 50 years, and I'm pretty sure it's common sentiment to everybody in the city. And that's why the city's doing so much to trying to get streets paved now. I'd like to start with asking just one of the questions from the public. How do you make sure that the curb work on the bike lane is not a drainage problem?
Yeah, so we have a 20-foot maximum run of those sections of asphalt curb, so there will be breaks at least every 20 feet.
So it's not one continuous curb?
Correct, yep.
Okay. And then I'm going to bring it back up to council for any other comments before I jump in. Councilmember DeCarli.
I'm curious, do we know how much money gets set aside every year to repave roads? What our approximate budget is?
I can't tell you the exact number without going back and looking at it. I mean, I think it varies between what the 5-year plan was for bonding, what we get from SB1, which was around $2 million a year. And then we have payment fees and sewer fees that go in, and that added up to around like $3 million. So I would say rough, probably $3 million a year plus the bond measure.
So is this the only road we're going to pave this year?
Last year we finished the slurry seals. I know most people say it's painting the roads black, but that is a critical piece to keep the good roads good. We are currently working on this current fiscal year's worth of slurry seals too. So we're doing Rainier right now. We have slurry seals, and then next year we're coming in with Howard and Caulfield.
And can I add, out of the $20 million bond that we issued, and we have $4 million remaining after this project, we'll have maybe $1 million, but we've paved Maria, Garfield, McDowell, some of the major arteries in our city.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and those roads you mentioned, that's for next year?
Yeah, we've got, next year will be Howard from A Street to West Street, along with a sewer and water main replacement. And then we've got grant funding to pave Caulfield Lane from Payran to Garfield.
Okay, and what else is on the docket for this year?
So the only road reconstruction for this calendar year, 2026, is this project of Rainier.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that kind of makes me go back to, it's not that Rainier doesn't need to get paved, but, looking at priority, and I understand we're trying to time it with infrastructure upgrades and repairs. I understand that. That was always a frustration of mine, was seeing a brand new street cut up that was just paved. But, I mean, we have so many heavily trafficked roads in Petaluma, and again, to try to get closer to Vision Zero, I think there's others that are more deserving. It seems like, repaving, it seems like a great idea. It's just there's so many other roads in this town, and we're known for bad roads. So I think there's a lot of other options that could be considered. And if this is all we're going to pay for this year, I don't know that that's the right road.
Okay. I think I do want to know that some of the public comment about my sentiment regarding success of CIP is well quoted. And I want to note that on this one, I think I was on the Pedestrian Bicycle Advisory Committee back in about 20 when this debate went on. This one, of course, has the added challenge, as does D Street, of having pilot programs and being responsive to the public. And so I understand why this one took this amount of time. I concur with you that I wish that we had more paving done, and I think that's the sentiment of the community and something that the city as a whole ought to be have more achievement on. So, Councilmember Barnacle, did I see questions coming from your end?
Sure.
Or comments at this point?
Sure. I'm happy to support it. I appreciate the design features. I appreciate walking through it. Councilmember Quint asked my questions. Safety, maintenance, and congestion all seem to check the boxes. I think there's some things that are being thrown around and conflated right now around, we say we want to use the bond, and then we're saying we don't want to actually pave any roads this year. So it's not like we can just not use it and then not use the money, not pave this street, and then pave some other street, we would have to go through the design process, and then we're sitting on that bond revenue again and not delivering the benefits to the community. In terms of why we would change the revenues, I would imagine that we would change the revenues from highway tax to the bond, because we thought we were going to be doing Howard, and Howard now is pushed back, so we're using the bond so that we can deliver the value to the community with the bond. That's me thinking about what it is, but that's why we would change the revenue sources for this. I don't know why the planning and overhead is increasing. That's a good flag, Darren. I would appreciate some clarification if that's like a way that we're, some new sort of internal policy, or if that's because, we went through multiple rounds of piloting something and, public engagement costs a lot of money. I don't know, but I would like some clarification from staff on that. But I think the larger thing is this, the project is a notable improvement over what's currently there. The roundabout is going to make things safer. The bike lane is, unquestionably going to make it safer for bikers. And crossing one lane of traffic is significantly safer than crossing 4. So I hope we don't have to debate this until the wee hours in the morning, and we can actually mobilize money and pave roads.
Thank you. Councilmember Shribs?
Okay, a few comments. First, just about the one on Baywood and McDowell. If you notice, there's plants in that roundabout. I designed it, I helped plant it, and I helped maintain it, by the way. So I've been out there often enough, and my friend actually did most of the work, has been maintaining it for 10 years, watering. So he's been out there the whole time, 10 years straight. His wife was one of the ones first on the scene at that accident. She was a nurse, tried to revive him. So I have a little bit of experience out there at Baywood, and I've been out there, and it does really help. The traffic does slow down. It does work. Most of the accidents have happened there. It's DUIs is one of the main issues of these accidents that are happening. So this on Baywood, yes, it has a curb there, and I have hit it with my truck, trying to get around. But once you learn and get by. But it can be run over. You can get, even buses have gone through. I actually worked with the school and asked the school buses, can they get through? And yes, they can get through. So that's about Baywood on there. The other roundabout's good. Another one on just getting down there, because I live near Rainier, and that's actually in my district. Part of it, at least half of it is. Then I ride my bike and I drive down Rainier all the time. So when I'm going down there, especially if I'm taking Maria now is, having been paved, is a wonderful street to ride a bike back and forth. But I've run into real issues on riding on Maria, going past Rainier, having the cars stop for me on a bicycle, going through that, and also the cars, they decide who goes next. So I've had run into personal difficulties at that intersection. Who's going to go next? And especially those cars coming on Maria, do they go or does the Rainier go? And usually folks on Maria have to stop and wait because the folks on Rainier are going no matter what, for the most part. So I've had lots of experience at that intersection like that, and a roundabout is going to make it safer for me personally. The other thing I'm looking forward to is with the ATP plan, my expectation is down the road, maybe take 20 years, I don't know how long it's going to take, but we're going to take my bike on Rainier, underneath the freeway, into the Greenway area, and then either under the railroad, because we can go under the railroad, or directly across the river, and then again under the railroad, get on the pathways there, and I can get to Payran and across town on my bicycle, saving me 10 minutes at least doing that, coming down the road. So I'm going to be saving a huge amount of time and using a lot more, and then we have a lot more students now taking their bikes safe streets. That's one of our safe routes, is through that intersection. So we really need to make it safe for the students so that they're comfortable riding bike, because they're not doing it now. And so that safety has to come through. And on Maria, it's a real concern for talking to the residents there. The speeding, the road got fixed, and now it's a wonderful road. You can go really fast without going into bumps. So there's an increase in speeding. The other thing I've noticed is past history about the car speeds and the like doesn't apply currently. I've noticed amount of increase in agitation, anxiety. I've now been being passed, even on residential streets. I'm going down at 30, 35 miles an hour down a nice street, and folks are passing me at 50. They won't wait for me. They're trying to pass me. And that's happened in this last year. So my wife and I, we've counted like 4 or 5 times now. We're going down various roads, and people are so anxious now trying to get to where they're going. They're going 20 to 30 miles over the speed limit to get around me on residential roads and on arterials. So we're getting more chaos is happening out there, and more speeding, more anxiety, more stress. So we really need to slow this all down. So I'm really looking forward to make this happen. I think it's really good for our future. According to current data today, it might be the best day, but 20 years from now, we'll be very thankful that it's there. A lot more traffic is going to be going through there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Now.
Thank you. Can city staff respond to the questions asked by the public comment or speaker regarding the bond and mid-year budget dilemmas, especially where this project is? Do you want to do that now, or do you want to wait? Okay.
Yeah, I think I can try to address most of that. So, and I also wanted to respond on the question about the admin and overhead charges as well. So, to just hopefully clear the air on this, there has been no change in practice or policy about how we charge projects administrative and overhead charges. However, it is true that costs have gone up with inflation, with doing more public outreach on projects, and a variety of other factors. So what we were finding is that when we go to close out a project, the budgets for administration and overhead were very low, and the actuals that were getting charged to projects for that project's specific expenses were above the budgets. So the change that was mentioned last week, and that was pointed out last week and this week, is that we went through a process to better estimate what the actuals are going to come in at, so that we aren't having this kind of swing in the actual cost versus the budget. So you're seeing some of those budget changes to hopefully get a better predictor of where the actuals are going to land at the end of the project. And then the other piece that I wanted to address is this question about the mid-year budget adjustments. And I just wanted to say that this is a long-standing practice of the city where we do not bring a budget amendment or a budget adjustment every time a project or a new program or something necessitates a change to the budget. We have a practice that we've been doing for many years of bringing a sort of batch of budget adjustments to the council 4 times a year. I think one of the reasons for that, very simply, is that budget adjustments in Petaluma require an ordinance of the city council. So it is more complicated. It takes a first reading, a second reading, a 30-day referendum period in order to even get the change implemented. So to do one of those every single time an adjustment was needed would just be very unwieldy. And so we do kind of package all of those up and bring them at specific points during the year. What you'll also find on the mid-year adjustments that will be coming to council soon is that we do take this opportunity at mid-year to adjust lots of projects, because we work with our project managers and the finance department to kind of true up where do we think projects are actually going to land by year end. And then we tweak budgets up and down to right size the project budgets. So that tells us how much we're going to spend in the current year, and then how much we'll have to carry forward into the next year. So that is a process that we go through, and you'll see some of those changes to project budgets in those mid-year adjustments coming up.
Thank you for that explanation. I just wanted to clear, because I didn't have time to ask that question ahead of time. Or anyway, on roundabouts, the photographs that you showed in your presentation shows amazing. There's tire marks from when vehicles are using that intersection probably at night to do donuts, to do very dangerous driving. I know this happens in my district in the Caulfield, St. Francis, or the Baywood in St. Francis, and you know it's very dangerous because they can lose control and they can actually hit those homes and cars on the corners. So the parking On Maria, that's being taken away. 20 feet is for the daylighting, the new law. So we're really only eliminating one parking space on either side of that street in front of those homes for those residents.
Yeah,
The
and it-
rest were taken by daylighting.
Correct. So if with the intersection, leaving it as is, we would red curb 20 feet, but with the roundabout requires an additional approximately 16 feet, which is the remaining space back to the driveway, to the edge of the driveway.
And then the parking is being removed from Maria to Sonoma Mountain Parkway, the backside of those Park Lane condos or apartments.
From Maria to Snow Mountain Parkway, correct. It's just a fence line. There are no adjacent properties on that stretch on the eastbound side of Rainier.
And there has been a lot of vehicles parked in that area, and I've gotten a lot of complaints that are work vehicles and trailers, RVs that are parked over the 72-hour time period. So I just want to let the residents know that I have talked to many residents who are grateful that they're not going to have these trailers and other vehicles there for over the 72 hours. And they're not really used for the residents. I saw and used many roundabouts on my trip to Europe, and it really does help the flow of traffic and helps pedestrians, especially when you're a foreigner in from another country trying to cross the street. And Americans just need to slow down and make sure that they let those pedestrians and bicyclists through an intersection. And I'm a little selfish because I have grandchildren who attend school on Maria, and I use it a lot to pick them up, take them to school, drop them off, and also Lucchese Park. And I use Rainier a lot. And a lot of times I'm babysitting until wee hours of the night, and I see these crazy drivers who are taking those corners way too fast. And so that just makes me a little nervous, and having more reflectors and paint and any signage you can do to slow people down, because everybody seems to be in a hurry. It doesn't matter what time of the day or night. The stop and go traffic of an intersection does produce more greenhouse gases and is not healthy for our community. So I just had to put that out there. I do have safety concerns, and I'm just going to make a plug for my McDowell and Baywood roundabout. It's old. It's about 20 years old. There's a lot of broken concrete. There's not enough reflectors to slow down traffic. I would even like to see some flashing lights. It just needs some upgrades. I don't know if we can afford them. But anyway, trucks don't like roundabouts. I've heard all about the truck route on D Street and the hay trucks not being able to maneuver that new roundabout on D Street. Is Rainier a truck route?
No, it is not. Although we have heard, I think, reports of trucks using it. And so hopefully the roundabout will discourage some of that activity.
So hopefully it will discourage some of those trucks, which I know makes a lot of vibrations, and the homeowners don't like that. I think that is all I have, but I will be supporting this because I've weighed the pros and cons, and I do have those special little grandkids that use it for bikes and walking to and from the park and the farmer's market, and Grandma's driving lots of special cargo.
Thank you. I too will be supporting this. No matter where I go in the city, people's number one concern that they raise with me is not climate. It is not other things that we think of going on. It's about speeding. It's about running stop signs. And that's because everyone has a visceral fear for their safety. And that is just an overarching pattern through maybe America, but our city for certain, sure. And in regards to the lane reduction here, and there's a nice graphic that was in the presentation there where they showed the risk of one of the middle lanes when you're a pedestrian crossing. But I think Bjorn and I know a young man who was in the slow, he was in front of Volpe's. He'd crossed 4 lanes of traffic with the beacons going, and it's the curb lane where he got very, very badly hurt and nearly died. And it's necessary to have that many lanes on Washington. It is not necessary to have that many lanes on Rainier, and it's not necessary to speed on Rainier. So these improvements seem very common sense to me. I worry when we talk about the bollards that are missing in a certain area, or I think that's a cyclist who got hit. That's a pedestrian. If a car can't keep in the lane, and we're not saying these are narrow, we're not narrowing the lanes in these projects. Those are wide lanes, and you're hitting obstacles with your car. Maybe the thought ought to be on how do we improve driving in town, because that's where a lot of the safety risk comes from, bad driving. So with that, I'm looking for other comments from Vice Mayor.
Well, I'll just say it now instead of during the vote. But, again, I appreciate staff's work on this and the advocacy for it. And, I would like to support repaving this road, but, kind of given the amount of roads that we can pave in a year or fiscal year, it doesn't seem responsible to choose this roads over others. Also, given its safety record too. I think we should be looking at making roads with higher speed limits safer and with more traffic through town. So, kind of for those reasons, I don't want to support this.
I think you do make a very good point that we'd all like to be getting more roads paved, and we're looking to staff to give us advice on how we can help you get more roads paved so we can get to there. Now, there was one other item. We were talking about amending the resolution, I believe it was, and do we have that available to us at this time?
We do, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. And Madam Clerk, if you could display it for us. And Mr. Mayor, I don't know if you want me to read that. I think we'll need to zoom it up a little bit if you can. And I'm happy to read it or so you can see what we've got there is a new introductory paragraph in the second recital position, and then some indented text that follows it, still part of that recital. And what this does is allows us to take advantage of the fact that we have all the information and analysis necessary for the city to take advantage of design immunity in this approval action by the council. And this will provide that information in the record so that we have that benefit from this action. And this would also provide for making Mr. Kalschel's memo that staff have prepared for him with those facts. The facts that satisfy the design immunity requirements are in those insetted.
Are you anticipating this to be a typical for design projects in the future?
Yes, we have done this previously. We failed to have that in the package.
It looks familiar to me. I think we've seen this before.
You definitely have,
Okay.
and we have, and we're citing to the municipal code too, where we're implementing this practice. So it's very helpful in terms of protecting public funds while we do these safety improvement projects. So my recommendation is that when the council takes action on this item, that it include this amendment to the resolution. If you'd like me to read it into the record, I will.
No, I think I'd rather ask any of the council if anyone has any questions on the text they see in front of them. I appreciate everyone's getting it up on the screens for all to see. And if there are no questions, thank you very much for introducing this. Any further comment? We good? We're good?
We're fine. The assistant city manager was just, wanting to flag the fact that we're adding Mr. Koschel's memo pursuant to this recital if the council adds it, and you can see that in the first paragraph. So just so that's not lost on anyone. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, I think we're looking for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the ordinance.
Second.
As amended?
As amended.
We have a motion to approve the ordinance as amended from Councilmember Quint, and our second came from?
Second.
From Councilmember Barnacle. May we have the roll call vote?
Barnacle?
Aye.
Gator Thompson is recused. DeCarly?
No.
Now?
Yes.
Quint?
Yes.
Shribs?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Motion carries with Councilmember Gator Thompson recused and Vice Mayor DeCarly voting no.
Thank you very much. And with that, that is the end of our agenda, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.